champion Martina Navratilova, with her view of the decision by the All England club to ban Russian and Belarusian players from this summer's championships. She went through her own turmoil in 1978 when she first won the women's crown. Her parents were still in communist Czechoslovakia, and the authorities there refused them permission to travel to the UK to watch their daughter play. Today, Navratilova says she opposes Wimbledon's efforts to punish Russian players for the actions of Vladimir Putin.
I wish they had actually talked to me. Maybe I would provide a slightly different perspective, and maybe I wouldn't have changed anybody's mind, but I feel a lot of these decisions are made in a vacuum where they don't take input from the people that are affected by this and find a better solution than this. Exclusion is not like this, is through no fault of these players, is not the way to go. And as much as I feel for the Ukrainian players and Ukrainian people, of course, it's just horrific what's going on, but I think this is just going further than needed to be going, quite frankly. I think it's a wrong decision.
The ATP agrees, calling the move damaging and a dangerous precedent, but Wimbledon says it would simply be unjustified to allow the Kremlin to derive benefits from any Russian success in the tournament. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
A quick look back at the top stories from this week. U.S. President Joe Biden announces a fresh package of weapons and aid for Ukraine as the country attempts to repel the Russian invasion. Battles continue to rage in the Ukrainian city of Mariupol, where Russian President Vladimir Putin called off an assault on a metal factory. And Russian and Belarusian tennis players won't be allowed to compete at Wimbledon this year. That's the latest feature story news. Ira Spitzer in San Francisco.
This is the Onion Week in Review. Apparently oblivious of the dismal fiscal climate, local dog Digby is wolfing down kibble as if the United States isn't in a goddamn economic crisis. Sources say the shockingly selfish 4-year-old German Shepherd appears callously unswayed by the constant stream of gloomy market forecasts and continues gorging on brand-name pet foods, milk bones, and table scraps as if the U.S. unemployment rate hasn't been above 8% for the past 3 years.
Here we are tightening our belts while this dog scarfs down bowl after bowl like the Dow Jones Industrial Average has gone through the goddamn roof or something. You'd think that he'd think twice since U.S. credit rating's been downgraded, but Digby doesn't give a damn. Ain't that right, Digby? You don't give a flying f***, do you?
The Onion solemnly bids farewell to the 22 crew members who perished during the production of today's Week in Review. You will be missed. For more, visit theonion.com/newsbeat.
This is the Onion News Network. Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live. The phones are open if you want to join the show. Live Saturday edition. We're here for you. Tonight, it's Ian.
And the captain.
The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. We always bring things to the table to discuss that we hope you'll find interesting. But, of course, you can bring up anything you want. That is the point here of Free Talk Live. That is what we do. The phones are open every single night, and we are here 7 nights a week. And there's a story that we covered in detail most of a decade ago, not quite. It was 2013, October of 2013, if I recall correctly, when Ross Ulbricht was arrested for running the world's first underground online drug marketplace called the Silk Road. Now, it wasn't just for drugs. There were some other things that you could get there.
I'm sorry, you mean the first free online market?
What do you mean?
Well, it was unregulated by anybody in any way, shape, or
free
form.
market. Well,
free market.
Yeah, it certainly wasn't regulated by the government, but Ross Ulbricht, the ostensible operator, and admitted, I guess, operator, although he says he didn't run the thing the whole time.
Yeah.
But he was the creator of it. He did admit to that in his court case, which I thought was a huge mistake.
Well, we know for a minute the feds were running it, so.
That is definitely true. So Ross put this website online, and he did specify certain categories of things were unwelcome. So,
oh, yeah, sure. Self-regulation.
Yeah, child pornography, for instance, and poisons, I believe, were the two items that, categories, if you will.
Yeah,
that
you
were
can't
not,
sell strychnine.
Were not welcome.
You know, that kind of thing.
You can sell drugs, but not, like, specific poison. Obviously, you can kill yourself with heroin if you do enough of it, but It's not the intention necessarily. So that was busted in 2013, and Ross has been in prison ever since.
Yeah.
And
for running a website.
Yeah. 2 life sentences plus 40 years.
Yeah.
That's what we usually say about Ross's
Child
sentence.
molesters get less time.
That's true. Murderers get less time.
Yeah.
And the judge in the case said she was, quote unquote, sending a message. Well, no one appears to have gotten the message because the online drug marketplaces have continued. There has been no slowing.
And expanded. There's more than one of them now.
Oh, yes, there are many. So their crackdown on Ross did not achieve whatever it was supposed to achieve. And now a very intelligent young man is rotting away in a prison cell for almost a decade of his life at this point, 9+ years of his life.
I think he just recently celebrated a birthday or something.
He did. And there's so much to say about the Ulbricht case. I don't want to even try to recap it.
Yeah.
Because to go through a recap of the insane trial that he was forced to have, where his defense couldn't even put on their defense for the most part, which, again, it's shocking, it's outrageous, but it's not that unusual for federal court. It's pretty common that the prosecution gets to call all their witnesses and make all their arguments, but if you want to talk about, the Constitution or the actual facts in the case or call up your own witnesses as a defense, nope, you get objected to, you get overruled, you get all kinds of restrictions placed upon you. And so if you're interested in learning the ugly story behind the Ross Ulbricht prosecution, I recommend you go to freeross.org. They have a documentary. It is available in video, audio, and readable format.
Yep.
So people learn differently, right? Some people learn by watching. Other people learn by listening.
Yep.
Like some people like to read. You can learn this case inside and out with citations and evidence galore from start to finish over at freeross.org. The documentary is called Railroaded, and it is fantastic. I highly recommend it.
Fitting title.
Highly recommend it. But let's just suffice it to say that Ross Ulbricht got screwed royally for, as you pointed out, simply running a website.
Yeah.
And we talk a lot about his sentence here. There's been a large push with, I think, close to 500,000 signatures on an online petition to have him, pardoned and or sentence commuted to get him out of prison. Like, look, he's learned his lesson. Okay, you've had the man in prison for 9 years. He's not going to go back to running underground websites. He'd like to be more, productive in his life rather than sitting in a prison cell. There's all kinds of reasons why he needs to be let out. But, of course, it would now require Joe Biden, because Trump didn't do it.
Yeah.
Would now require Joe Biden, who is, of course, one of the most arch drug warriors known to man. The odds that's ever going to happen seem very slim. But nonetheless, his mother has continued to push for Ross's release, and you can sign that petition as well over at freeross.org for whatever that is worth. But we talk a lot about his sentence as far as time is concerned. I didn't know. I mean, I figured there was a financial penalty involved, but offhand, I couldn't have told you what it was.
Yeah, I wasn't really aware of the magnitude. I believe I had read it as like a line item of, stuff whenever he was actually convicted, and it was in there like, blah, 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 this many years and this much time and this, that, and the other thing, and then like, some restitution, and then blah, 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 and then, I just sort of glazed over it, didn't pay it much attention. But apparently there's a financial component that is rather large.
$183 million. And they call it, quote unquote, restitution.
Restitution to no victims.
To the government, apparently.
There were no victims in the Ross Ulbricht case. Every transaction that happened on the Silk Road was completely voluntary.
That's right.
And so there were no victims. So the meaning of this restitution isn't. It's a false term that the government uses to say, hey, should you ever happen to come into any money,
it's ours.
We're just going to take it, which turns out happened.
Yeah, so the story from Wired. Ross Ulbricht, the convicted creator of the legendary Silk Road dark web market for drugs, has never gotten much mercy from the U.S. legal system. In 2015, he was sentenced to life in prison without parole, and that's a nice way of saying double life sentence plus 40 years. Yeah. His appeal was denied, as was the pardon that he sought from President Trump. But a little over a year ago, it appears Ulbricht finally got a break of a different kind. The 9-figure debt that he owed, quote-unquote, to the U.S. government as part of his sentence will be erased, all thanks to the fortuitous hoarding of a hacker who had stolen a massive trove of bitcoins from his marketplace. Last year, prosecutors quietly signed an agreement with Ulbricht stipulating that a portion of the newfound trove of Silk Road bitcoins seized from an unnamed hacker will be used to cancel out the more than $183 million in restitution that Ulbricht was ordered to pay as part of his 2015 sentence.
I can't even fathom where this number comes from, where the government comes up with the number $183 million in, quote, restitution, unquote.
They calculated it, allegedly, from the total sales of the Silk Road based on exchange rate. They claim total illegal sales. I don't know if they went in and actually looked to see what items were legal and illegal, but because that would be a tremendous task. But they claim that they calculated it based on the exchange rates at the time of each transaction. Despite the fact the more recently unearthed stash of bitcoins, now worth billions of dollars, was itself criminal proceeds, the Justice Department appears to have made a deal with Ulbricht to avoid any claim that he might have made to the money. In exchange for Ulbricht's agreement to waive any ownership he might have of the bitcoins, a portion of them will be used to pay off his restitution in its entirety.
So it took me a minute to wrap my brain around this. So Ross Ulbricht starts the Silk Road.
Yep.
At some point, somebody hacks the Silk Road, like one of the wallets or something.
Right.
Hacks into one of the wallets and steals some Bitcoin.
Correct.
Years later, the government busts whomever this hacker is.
Yep.
They find some, gain access to a wallet with some Bitcoin in it. They do some digital forensics and they find out, some of this Bitcoin came from the Silk Road wallet that was hacked back in whatever date this occurred.
Yep.
And so the government is stealing Bitcoin that was stolen from the Silk Road.
Correct. And the strange part about this is these are proceeds of crime, right? So under their system, alleged crime. We don't think that what Ross Ulbricht did was a crime, but they do. And so alleged crimes, when you get proceeds from them, they get forfeited.
Yeah.
Right? If the government busts you, they come and they take that, and you're probably never going to see it again. So that's the weird thing is, like, they went to Ross and said, hey, just so you don't claim this, we'll let you out of jail. More coming up.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
After a devastating war, the alien visitors were driven back, and their willing human collaborators were left behind to face the music. When Emma Jean Anderson's ex-lover springs her from prison, Nathan Foster and his 14-year-old nephew Ben are tasked with bringing the pair to justice. An easy enough job until they discover something is inside Emma Jean, and the fate of the planet hangs in the balance. The Family Business by Mike Coopery from BaneBooks.com.
I'm crazy about My Magic Mud. This is the most important oral care product created this millennium, and I'm not kidding. We all have different opinions on politics and issues, but we all have mouths. And I want yours to be as clean as possible, with teeth as bright as they were meant to be. I will never be without My Magic Mud. It's a little surprising, but man, does it work. If you only listen to one thing I say ever, go to mymagicmud.com and get 20% off with code FTL. mymagicmud.com, code FTL. Are you tired of governments around the world killing innocent people? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin is money that cannot be inflated or controlled by any state. By continuing to use their money, you're perpetuating the killing. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available to you now. Learn it, use it, spread it.
Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. It's Bitcoin.com.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project early movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk live Saturday show. You may take control of the airwaves here. We're talking about Ross Ulbricht and a strange development that has resulted in his $183 million quote-unquote debt to the federal government being paid off.
Let's just refer to it as his fine.
Yeah.
Because that's essentially what it is.
Yep. They're fining him basically for every dollar that he allegedly made on the site. And of course, he made Bitcoin, so them being the government always have to convert that to something they can understand. And so they come up with a dollar amount. But it's been almost a decade since the Silk Road bust happened, and I don't know what it was at the time when that, 2013, it was probably on a run-up to its first, because I remember there was, in the end of 2013, there was a big run-up to like $1,100, and it was crazy at the time.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that in October, it might have been somewhere going up to that. So let's say $400 Bitcoin or $500 Bitcoin. And now it is $40,000 Bitcoin. Yeah. So the amount that
it's 10x since then, or whatever.
Yeah, they seized all this Bitcoin from a hacker apparently, and they went to Ross Ulbricht and they said, "Hey, I
think, and the story doesn't really mention this, but after having read this story, I think that they needed his help to get this guy, this hacker guy. I think this hacker guy was doing some other stuff, and they needed Ulbricht's help."
Interesting. And
that's what I think. And in return, they were like, so like, hey, if you, do this and then sign this thing so that we know you're not going to lay any legal claim.
But that's the weird thing. It's like, why would he have any legal claim to it if it's the proceeds of a quote unquote crime? Then I would think that they would just take it and say, well, we don't care what you say, Ross Ulbricht. You're a federal prisoner, and we'll do what we want. What kind of standing would he have? So I think that's an interesting theory that you have, Captain. We'll continue with the story. By the way, if you want to learn about Bitcoin, it is definitely not too late. You can go to bitcoin.com and click Get Started right there at the top of the page. They'll take you to some introductory videos that you can watch and learn about cryptocurrency like Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. Just click Get Started at the top of the page at bitcoin.com. Plus, they've got a news site for those of you that aren't brand new. You want to get the latest news headlines about crypto. Get over to news.bitcoin.com. Again, that's news.bitcoin.com. Let's go to Joe calling us from Pembroke. I think that's in New Hampshire. Joe, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead.
Hi, I was calling in tonight to raise awareness about a situation in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. There is a sole YouTuber who is also a combat veteran for the last 2 years, has been uncovering quite a bit of corruption. His YouTube channel is called Lincoln Square Leonidas. I have no affiliation with it other than just being binge watching his videos. And he's a libertarian, and he definitely deserves a lot of support and awareness. He's uncovered real estate fraud in the hundreds of millions of dollars that reaches all of the levels of government. He's uncovered pedophilia scandals. In this time, he's had attempts made on his life. And he keeps fighting, and his videos are absolutely hilarious when he is exposing these corrupt officials. So cool. I just think he's a fellow freedom fighter.
So what's happening to this guy? Are they targeting him?
Yeah, absolutely. They're all the prosecutors and the judges. They're all in the, they're all involved with this really intricate racket that involves hundreds of millions of dollars in real estate frauds. And they're going after him. They're stacking up charges, and he is taking on. He's being his own defense. None of the lawyers will take on his cases, so he's having to learn, how to defend himself and learn all the legalize. And he's doing a really good job of exposing these people and learning everything and putting it all into digestible content on his YouTube channel, exposing them. So he's really got his back up against the wall, and all these corrupt officials are throwing everything at him that they can, and it's just pretty incredible to watch him take that on and still do it with a lot of humor and a good attitude.
Okay.
I applaud anybody who's doing that kind of a thing. My fear, of course, is the repercussions that come when the state does attack people who do this kind of thing.
That's just comes with the territory. I mean, if you're going to get into calling out the state for its depredations, then they're going to get a real interest in you.
Yeah.
Like they've done here with Free Talk Live, for instance.
For example. And I'm just recalling other people like Barry Cooper, for example.
Another good example, yeah.
Who
never got busted.
Yeah. He still does great work and is still doing
from
activism.
Mexico.
But he's doing it from outside of the U.S. Now, he has an agency, or at least representatives here in the U.S. that work with him. And I know that he's done even like digital appearances as an expert witness in like drug cases, things of that nature. So it's possible to continue that type of work with the technology that we have. I just hope for the best for this guy.
So you're recommending this channel, Joe, Lincoln Square Leonidas. Anything else you want to share about it?
No, that's it. Just he definitely deserves all the support and attention for everything that he's putting on the line to expose this. He definitely just deserves some clicks at the very least.
All right, thanks for the call tonight. Appreciate hearing from you.
And I just want to mention, too, to all of our listeners, if you're aware of anybody who's doing any kind of liberty-oriented activism, or if you yourself are doing liberty-oriented activism and you would like to get a bunch of people to, hear about what you're doing. We have open phones here 7 nights a week, 603-283-6160.
Always interested in hearing whatever your story is.
Yes, please.
So back to Ross Ulbricht. In exchange for his agreement to waive any ownership he might have of these bitcoins that the government recovered from an unknown hacker, or at least they're not saying who, a portion of them, so a very small portion, I imagine, because, again, the bitcoins have more than 10x'd since that time, or 100x from what they were. They're going to pay off his restitution, or his fine, in its entirety. Quote, the parties agree that the net proceeds realized from the sale of the bitcoins forfeited pursuant to this agreement shall be credited toward any unpaid balance of the money judgment. Reads a court filing from last year using the phrase money judgment to refer to Ulbricht's 2015 restitution order. The document filed in February of 2021 is signed by both Ulbricht and David Countryman, a prosecutor in the Asset Forfeiture Unit of the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Northern District of California. The Department of Justice did not respond to requests for comment.
So just back to my theory of what's going on and why the government would sort of do this kind of thing and why they had to get Ulbricht to sign a thing. I think they needed his help. I think they needed his help to help prove that this hacker stole from the one of the wallets that the Silk Road was connected to. That's just my theory, because I don't think And you would think that Ulbricht might have some motivation to help that occur as well, because if I'm running a website and somebody steals from me and somebody else finds the guy who stole from me, I might want that guy to get what's coming.
Yeah, you give him a finder's fee.
Get some justice, Maybe you're using the state, but, what's Ross going to do? He's already in prison for, a couple of, and if he wants to seek any kind of justice, this might be the only opportunity he will get to sort of get back at the guy who hacked in and stole money from his business.
Yeah, and it also makes me wonder if this is going to in any way help him get his sentence reduced. By being able to say, hey, look, I paid this $183 million to you guys, so you don't have to worry you're not going to get that out of me. You got it already. You got your blood, so why don't you just let me walk?
Right.
I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if this changes anything at all for him. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. More about the story, and you're welcome to share your thoughts all on the way here on Free Talk Live. Free Talk Live's video archives have been on LBRY for years. LBRY is an uncensorable, decentralized, blockchain-based media sharing protocol, and we're big fans of it here on Free Talk Live. In 2020, LBRY launched Odysee, a video sharing website to compete with YouTube, and it's really taking off, now with over 1 million channels, many of whom are disaffected YouTube creators. During YouTube's crackdown for not towing the government line on COVID, the Free Talk Live YouTube channel started receiving strikes and could be completely taken down at any moment. Thankfully, Odysee started offering live streaming, so we're now streaming live every night and posting our video archives permanently to Odysee. You can watch live or anytime on our Odysee channel by visiting video.freetalklive.com. If you want to go all in, download the desktop app at lbry.com, and then every video archive you watch, you'll help seed and keep it online forever. At minimum, we ask you visit video.freetalklive.com and follow us on Odysee today. video.freetalklive.com.
From Feature Story News in San Francisco, I'm Ira Spitzer with a look back at the week's top stories. We begin in Washington, D.C. On Thursday, U.S. President Joe Biden announced a fresh package of weapons and aid for Ukraine in an attempt to reinforce the country's forces battling against the Russian invasion. In an address from the White House, President Biden warned that Ukraine is facing a critical window as Russia launches an offensive in the east. Here's U.S. correspondent Benji Heyer.
$800 million in military assistance, including heavy artillery weapons, 144,000 rounds of ammunition, and more tactical drones. It's part of another huge package unveiled by the administration on Thursday, and if approved, it would mean the U.S. has committed approximately $3.4 billion in assistance to Ukraine since the conflict began. As well as bolstering Ukraine's resistance on the battlefield, Joe Biden wanted to express support for the people of Ukraine.
We intend to provide an additional $500 million in direct economic assistance to the Ukrainian government. We've already welcomed tens of thousands of Ukrainians to the United States, and today I'm announcing a new program to enable Ukrainians seeking refuge to come directly from Europe to the United States.
Also on Thursday, Russia's President Vladimir Putin said it's unnecessary for Russian lives to be wasted trying to storm a metal factory in the besieged southern Ukrainian city of Mariupol and ordered any assault to be canceled. Stuart Smith reports from Moscow, where restrictions on reporting the war are in place.
The defense minister told the president 2,000 fighters still remained, but that the rest of Mariupol had been captured and the situation calm, meaning citizens could return. The president said that can be considered a success. To those who still remained at the factory, he said Russia guarantees their lives and decent treatment in accordance with international law if they come out. Ukraine's top negotiators have requested an urgent meeting with the Russian delegation at the site in Mariupol to try to save the lives of everyone there.
And on Wednesday, the All England Lawn Tennis Club announced that Russian and Belarusian tennis players will not be allowed to compete at Wimbledon this year. Chris Jones has more from London.
This is a crushing blow for the likes of Russia's Daniil Medvedev, who is the men's singles number 2. He, along with many others, won't be allowed to compete at Wimbledon this year, one of the world's biggest tennis tournaments. The All England Lawn Tennis Club says it made the decision because of the unjustified and unprecedented military aggression in Ukraine. The UK's Lawn Tennis Association has also banned Russian and Belarusian players from playing at any of the UK grass court tournaments. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov criticised the ban. He says the tournament will suffer as a result.
That's the latest feature story news. Ira Spitzer in San Francisco.
You can help spread the ideas of liberty with our Patreon for just $5 per month at amps.freetalklive.com.
Yep, it's Free Talk Live. You can join us here, bring up whatever's on your mind. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Here tonight, it's Ian.
And the Lord Reverend Dr. Captain Kickass Buckshot Esquire, if you will.
You can join us online anytime you want. Just head over to freetalklive.com. We have a social media site at social.freetalklive.com, and you can go over there and get interactive with other Free Talk Live listeners. And you can do it for free, and it's not run by some big, evil, megatech corporation.
Certainly not.
In fact, there was some sort of a tool that I found online today. Somebody shared it.
Ben Affleck?
No.
Different tool?
An online tool onto which you can place your Twitter handle, and then you can see if Twitter is shadow banning your account.
Oh, I saw your post about that. I was going to ask you about what you did to find that out.
I went to that link that I posted,
right.
And then you put in your username, and it runs some tests on your account somehow through whatever programming magic, and they determine what sort of, if any, what sort of bans might be present on your account that you might not know about, because when you're shadow banned, you don't know about it necessarily. You just don't get many people interacting with you for whatever reason on things that you think should get some attention or whatever. And turns out I am what is called ghost banned on the site, which is their term for the shadow ban, which, nothing I can do about it unless Elon Musk takes over the site and clears out all the ghost bans, which I wouldn't hold my breath for that. So if you want to have the freedom to express yourself and not have some crazy ban block thing going on with your account, just go to our site. It's social.freetalklive.com. It's a Mastodon-based system. That means it is open source, self-hosted. It's federated with other Mastodons all around the planet, so you can connect with other people on other Mastodons, which is pretty cool. Head over to social.freetalklive.com. More about Ross Ulbricht's latest deal with the federal government gang. But first, Sambat is on the line listening to WDOV in Dover, Delaware. Go ahead, Sambat.
Yes, I wanted to. I've been speaking out on social media and on Facebook concerning my name has been sold to Truth Finder, and it says underneath there government Truth Finder.
Truth Finder.
Where you can do you can do a background check, and my son's face is on there, but it's showing that it's the government watch list, and it shows that I'm on the government watch list too. And then it has his face, and his he's in his 30s, and has his face and his girlfriend's face, and they want them to look at his gun and drug charges, which we both have the same name. And these are those are the things that they are using to justify of contacting Muslim informants and ex-drug dealers to confront me. And then these detectives end up taking pictures and then use that because they're trying to destroy my case, which they already have, to get attorney to sue
I'm already lost here, Sambat. You started out talking about Truth Finder, which appears to be a public information website where you can look people up, and then of course I'm sure they want you to pay to get the full profile or whatever. And
but it's forgery.
But then I've completely become lost on whatever else it was you were trying to say. Captain, are you able to follow what he's saying here?
Something about his son and him having the same name, and so it sounds like perhaps they're caught in a web of same-namedness.
No, I mean, because it's pretty much they're trying to paint me a Muslim to cover up everything they had done.
Are you a Muslim?
No, I'm not. I'm a Christian, and and then the Muslim informants that they're using to stage to confront me, and so they can get pictures and then show ACLU and all the other agencies that I have tried to.
Okay, hold on. You're saying they're sending informants to get pictures taken with you so it looks like you're a Muslim?
Yes.
Okay.
And me.
Are you being
and I'm
charged with something? Are there criminal charges here?
No, there's never been no charge. It has never been in no court.
What is your concern
like
that they're trying to build a case against you?
Yes, they are trying to build a case against me. It's pretty much just trying to entrap me with taxes, terror list, or what? Yeah, taxes.
Well, I mean, everybody is trapped by taxes. So, I mean, why would you be special?
They're search and seizing. They were doing it for 10 years, and me trying
searching and seizing what?
My documents, my taxes, all my documents that I was supposed.
When you say they were searching and seizing your documents, as the captain asks, who are they? Who is doing this?
The detectives. They used to be Delaware State Police.
Okay. Did they come to your house with a warrant?
No, they never did. They
How do you
broke in
know
my
that they
house.
were searching and seizing your documents then?
Oh well, because those their names were on that documents to fax and mail and hand delivered to the ACLU and Department of Justice.
What documents are you referring to?
Of all the continuous break-in and that they're
continuous break-in.
Yes, continuous going in and out of my house without warrants.
So you believe that the government detectives are going into your house while you're not home?
Well, I'm not home.
And how did you discover that was the case?
Because my documents are missing. And
well, that's not proof of anything, is it? That's proof that maybe somebody went into your home, but it might not have been the government. It could have been anybody, right? Or maybe you just misplaced them. I mean, you sound a little scattered to me.
Detectives are being dispatched after I found out my document has been taken. My neighbors are.
What evidence do you have of that?
It's all in my.
It's all in your head. That's correct. You were honest there for just a moment.
My witness. I didn't say head. I said my witnesses. It's just trying to get my witnesses.
But you don't have any
on
witnesses.
my behalf. I do. It's my neighbors.
Your neighbors are saying that they saw strange men or detectives go into your home.
Yes, they saw detectives going on my property and not so much going in my house, but going on my property when I wasn't home. But I can prove all this. All I need is a federal attorney to take my case.
Well, good luck, Sambat. I don't know if you're going to be able to find it because, number one, attorneys aren't cheap. Number two, a lot of them don't like to take on the government. They just kind of like to stay away from that.
Hopefully they don't call Sambat to the stand.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard.
No offense. I mean, maybe the guy's being as honest as he can, and maybe he's telling us the truth. But if I'm a juror and I heard him speak, I'd be like, this guy's whacked.
Yeah, sorry, somebody. You just can't put the story together in a way that is easily understandable. I mean, we're asking question after question, and it hasn't really done a whole lot to clarify the situation. I do wish you the best, and if those things are really happening to you, then that sucks. And on the other hand, he might just be paranoid. And I believe that guy called in before.
Yeah, I think we heard from him last week.
Yeah, and it was just as confusing at that time. And I think he was calling in about the exact same thing. And it's interesting that he brought up this Truth Finder website. It just seems like one of the myriad of public information sites that's sort of kind of scammy looking in the way that they design the site, where you can type in somebody's name and then it has like a little loading bar that takes
like People Finder.
Yeah, that one of those things. But it's like there's a good site called whitepages.com that I've used for a long time. I actually bought a membership to that site. They're not an advertiser or anything like that, but like they don't do the BS-y kind of thing like this site does, where if you type in somebody's name, it's got the and it's got this this online bar that fills up and it takes.
We're accessing and investigating right now.
We're doing a deep search on a million zillion files.
What
to
they're
find
doing
out
is
the answers.
probably like logging your IP address and trying to scan for any cookies that are on your computer so they can connect you to whatever.
But then they do give you, a little bit of teaser information on the person that they find, and then of course they want to charge you
for only $9.95. You can get their entire profile.
Yeah, for the full so-called report. Everybody's on this site. This is not an unusual place. It's nothing to be really concerned about necessarily. So the dude's freaking out. Maybe somebody did break into his house, and that's awful.
I feel like there's some truth to that guy, but I can't follow him.
Yeah. Number 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Of course, when they really are out to get you, then that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
And usually they will at some point let you know about it. They won't skulk for long. It's Free Talk Live.
There is no such thing as attention span, according to Jerry Seinfeld, who figures that people have an infinite attention span if you are entertaining them. Hey, he's kept us from channel surfing for several decades, and now he's making more millions as a Las Vegas headliner. With money and attention so scarce now, effective communication skills have never been more important, especially if you're looking for work. So choose every single word as though it was the last word the person you're speaking to will hear. Otherwise, it might be. Avoid redundancies such as added bonus, advance warning, end result, prior history, or personal belongings. And avoid cliches like the plague. Just kidding. For more tips, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in Liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Free Talk Live.
The heavy-handed language that you're speaking out against the government is, I never heard anything like this on the radio.
When the founding fathers decided that the government of England was no longer servicing their needs, they stopped paying their taxes first.
Don't you drive on the roads? Aren't you glad you're defended from the foreigners?
Sir, they stole this man's property.
The foreigners are coming to get me.
Yeah, they stole these. These aren't foreigners I need to be defended from. It's these people down the street calling themselves government that are willing to steal my property from me and burn my house to the ground, which is what they did to this man.
It's not yours. The government owns it.
Really? Are you telling me, sir, that every one of us are actually serfs? We're actually subjects and slaves to the state? Is that what you're telling me?
Well, if it sounds good to you...
No, that doesn't sound good. I don't accept it. I'm a free man.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live. The phones are open. You can join us here. The number 603-283-6160. And as that last call proved, if you can figure out how to dial a phone number, you can get on the air. Coherence not required.
I mean, we are called Free Talk Live for a reason.
It's true. For better or for worse. The number 603-283-6160. Ian and the Captain here in the studio.
One thing's for sure, there's no show quite like this one.
Indeed. Well, I want to get back into Ross Ulbricht because we haven't talked about Ross in quite a while, and there's been a major development in his case, and that is that he's paid off the $183 million fine.
How did he do that from jail?
For running a website. A very popular website that helped a lot of people. That actually probably saved countless lives. The man is a hero.
How does it, I mean, this is like probably a first, right? How does a guy sentenced to double life plus 40
years, yeah.
Plus 40 years, how does a guy, while incarcerated, earn $183 million, enough to pay off his, quote, restitution, unquote, that the government has mandated he pay?
Well, according to this Wired story, they caught a hacker, and that hacker had hacked the Silk Road, which was Ross's website, for billions of dollars worth of crypto now, what is now worth billions, but in the past was probably a couple $100 million. And they came to him and said, hey, look, sign this thing. Just say you won't claim any of these coins, and we'll consider your debt paid.
So I just want to sort of put a fine point on this, that this type of a scenario is not possible, near as I can tell, with USD, with regular dollars. Like, if somebody had broken into Ross's apartment and opened up his safe and stole, $1,000 in greenbacks, in USD, FRNs, Federal Reserve notes, the common dollar, right? That later on, if the police bust the guy who broke into Ross's apartment and somehow recover that exact $1,000, it's only going to be worth $1,000. It's not going to have, in the course of 9 years or whatever it's been since it occurred, it's not going to have 10x'd in value, right? So what I'm saying here is respect the cryptocurrency, because it does things that no other currency can do.
Yeah, it's an amazing story. I didn't expect to see it. Ulbricht, of course, according to Wired, still faces life in prison. He's already served 8 years of that sentence at jails in New York and penitentiaries in Colorado and Arizona. But the repayment of his restitution could mean he's able to earn money in prison. Not much, by the way, to share with family or friends without it being seized or garnished to pay his debts, or even keep any previously unknown caches of bitcoins that he may still possess, so long as they aren't tied to the Silk Road or other criminal sources. And if his sentence is eventually commuted, and his supporters, or as his supporters in a years-long Free Ross campaign have petitioned for, since even before his sentencing, he would re-enter the world as a free man without hundreds of millions of dollars in debt. And they say here in parentheses that Ulbricht is pursuing a habeas petition in federal court that would cancel his 2015 sentence based on an argument that he received ineffective representation from his attorneys. And I gotta agree.
Yeah, he did.
I was shocked when this case, we were paying quite close attention to this case. Some of our hosts, Derek J. Freeman, for instance, was down actually in New York City at the Manhattan court watching this happen. John Bush was calling in with regular updates. He was watching it as well. Because, again, in federal court, you have to physically be there. They don't have an online feed or anything like that.
What, you mean they're not televising it or streaming it like Johnny Depp?
It would be really awesome if they would televise or stream federal trials. But nope, no freedom of the press there. But, yeah, when his attorneys opened the opening statement by saying, Ross did it. Yes, he created the Silk Road. He did it. My thoughts were like, what? This is a $300,000 attorney? And he's just admitting?
That was the defense's opening statement?
That was the defense's opening statement. They opened the case by saying, yep, sure was. He created this website. Ross did it. But he didn't do it the whole time. It was somebody else that did. He took it over. Somebody else took it over. But they wouldn't let him. They wouldn't let the defense actually introduce that defense. That was going to be their defense was, we're going to say Ross created the site, but that he wasn't running it at the time when X, Y, and Z happened.
I wasn't scrutinizing the trial as it went down. I was reading the post stuff, like, day 2, day 5, I'd catch every other day or so's report on it. But,
In a bizarre twist, the agreement to ease or rather erase Ulbricht's restitution payments appears to have been made without the involvement or even the knowledge of the prosecutors in the Southern District of New York.
Good. Aren't they the bastards that railroaded him?
They are.
Okay, so they were proven to have been involved in all sorts of, we'll call it chicanery, within the case itself. So the fact that they were not involved pleases me.
The Justice Department attorneys who handled Ulbricht's case, again, were skipped by on this. Quote, this resolution was not coordinated with SDNY. One former Justice Department staffer told Wired to not coordinate with the prosecuting authority that obtained the judgment is extremely unorthodox, unquote. The surprise deal to cancel his restitution may have been made simply to smooth out any impediment to the government's massive financial seizure, said a researcher and computer scientist at UC Berkeley, Nick Weaver. Weaver's closely followed Ulbricht's case for years and even proved Ulbricht's bitcoins could be traced to the Silk Road during his trial. Quote, this was a way for the government not to have to deal with pointless legal hassles during the forfeiture process. He says, arguing that Ulbricht could have found an attorney to fight against and delay the seizure in return for a fraction of any potential reward. Quote, I'm certain Ross Ulbricht could have gotten a lawyer on a contingency basis to challenge the forfeiture simply because a 2% chance of winning would still be a multi-hundred-million-dollar payout for the attorney.
Yeah.
Unquote. The strange series of events that ultimately led to his restitution windfall first came to light in November of 2020 when the Justice Department announced it had seized nearly 70,000 bitcoins from someone that they referred to only as Individual X. That unnamed individual, according to an IRS criminal investigations affidavit, had stolen the Bitcoin fortune from the Silk Road while it was still online and exploiting a security vulnerability in the site. Ulbricht, according to the affidavit, went so far as to threaten Individual X personally in an attempt to persuade them to return the money, but instead, the individual held on to the hoard of coins for more than 7 years as the crypto appreciated massively in value. An IRS criminal investigation was able to trace the funds, identify Individual X, and persuade them to forfeit the persuade them to forfeit the stolen drug money to avoid criminal prosecution.
Right. So this is where my theory about...
That's why they're not saying who it was.
Right. This is where my theory about they needed Ross's help to prove that the coins came from his wallet in some way, shape, or form. Not, I say his wallet. I say the Silk Road wallet, right? I think they needed him to, I don't know, to do something. They needed his input. And so they were like, you know, in exchange for not only getting the guy who stole from you, but like, we'll also use the proceeds to pay off this thing. And so like, if you earn some money now, it's good for you.
But that's the thing, Captain. I mean, they wouldn't need him to prove it. They already know what his wallet was because they investigated the case and all that stuff's public. So chain analysis could
I don't know the specifics, but I think they needed his help for something.
That may be the case. By the time the nearly 70,000 bitcoins were seized, they had grown to more than $1 billion in value at the time. Now they're probably even higher.
With a B.
At the time, the largest criminal seizure ever carried out by the Justice Department. That record has since been broken by the seizure of $3.6 billion from a New York couple accused of laundering the proceeds from a hack of a cryptocurrency exchange called Bitfinex. And we talked about that when it happened as well within the last couple months. In the time since that seizure, however, court records showed the Justice Department has fought off a series of seemingly frivolous claims to the bitcoins, which prevented it from immediately selling off the coins as they do with other seized crypto. That resulted in the bitcoins appreciating even more to nearly $3 billion at current exchange rates. When the coins are eventually sold and that sum is added to the U.S. Treasury, it will easily cover Ulbricht's restitution with billions of dollars to spare.
I guess it could just be as simple as, even though he may not be able to really have any legal claim to the seized bitcoins, that he could certainly
delay
it by making a claim, filing endless paper, you know what I mean? Entrapping the bureaucracy with their own bureaucracy, preventing them from actually cashing in the Bitcoin now when it has 10x'd.
Yeah.
Right. And, you know, maybe he could have delayed it enough to where, you know, there's a dip in the market and, oh, no, it's not worth as much now. You know, maybe the government is just, we need to cash this in now. Well, it's worth something, you know?
Yeah. So they wanted to clear the way.
Yeah.
His mom, Lynn, who has championed her son's defense in the case for a pardon since his arrest, wrote in a statement to Wired, the repayment of his restitution represents a significant victory. Lynn said, quote, we're very pleased the financial penalty that was wrongly imposed on Ross, I'm glad she's still saying that.
Yes.
That's good, has been reversed, just as other false charges against him were dropped in federal court after trial. She's referring, of course, to the murder for hire charge that was total garbage and that they used to give him a black mark during the trial with the judge. She considered that while she sentenced him, even though he was never convicted of it.
Right.
And I don't even know if they ended up charging him officially with it either. But there's more coming up. We'll get a little bit more from Ross's mom, and your calls are welcome. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in San Francisco, I'm Ira Spitzer with a look back at the week's top stories. We begin in Washington, D.C. On Thursday, U.S. President Joe Biden announced a fresh package of weapons and aid for Ukraine in an attempt to reinforce the country's forces battling against the Russian invasion. In an address from the White House, President Biden warned that Ukraine is facing a critical window as Russia launches an offensive in the east. Here's U.S. correspondent Benji Heyer.
$800 million in military assistance, including heavy artillery weapons, 144,000 rounds of ammunition, and more tactical drones. It's part of another huge package unveiled by the administration on Thursday, and if approved, it would mean the U.S. has committed approximately $3.4 billion in assistance to Ukraine since the conflict began. As well as bolstering Ukraine's resistance on the battlefield, Joe Biden wanted to express support for the people of Ukraine.
We intend to provide an additional $500 million in direct economic assistance to the Ukrainian government. We've already welcomed tens of thousands of Ukrainians to the United States, and today I'm announcing a new program to enable Ukrainians seeking refuge to come directly from Europe to the United States.
Also on Thursday, Russia's President Vladimir Putin said it's unnecessary for Russian lives to be wasted trying to storm a metal factory in the besieged southern Ukrainian city of Mariupol and ordered any assault to be canceled. Stuart Smith reports from Moscow, where restrictions on reporting the war are in place.
The defense minister told the president 2,000 fighters still remained, but that the rest of Mariupol had been captured and the situation calm, meaning citizens could return. The president said that can be considered a success. To those who still remained at the factory, he said Russia guarantees their lives and decent treatment in accordance with international law if they come out. Ukraine's top negotiators have requested an urgent meeting with the Russian delegation at the site in Mariupol to try to save the lives of everyone there.
And on Wednesday, the All England Lawn Tennis Club announced that Russian and Belarusian tennis players will not be allowed to compete at Wimbledon this year. Chris Jones has more from London.
This is a crushing blow for the likes of Russia's Daniil Medvedev, who is the men's singles number 2. He, along with many others, won't be allowed to compete at Wimbledon this year, one of the world's biggest tennis tournaments. The All England Lawn Tennis Club says it made the decision because of the unjustified and unprecedented military aggression in Ukraine. The UK's Lawn Tennis Association has also banned Russian and Belarusian players from playing at any of the UK grass court tournaments. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov criticised the ban. He says the tournament will suffer as a result.
That's the latest feature story news. Ira Spitzer in San Francisco.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks. Today, former Wimbledon champion Martina Navratilova, with her view of the decision by the All England club to ban Russian and Belarusian players from this summer's championships. She went through her own turmoil in 1978 when she first won the women's crown. Her parents were still in communist Czechoslovakia, and the authorities there refused them permission to travel to the UK to watch their daughter play. Today, Navratilova says she opposes Wimbledon's efforts to punish Russian players for the actions of Vladimir Putin.
I wish they had actually talked to me. Maybe I would provide a slightly different perspective, and maybe I wouldn't have changed anybody's mind, but I feel a lot of these decisions are made in a vacuum where they don't take input from the people that are affected by this and find a better solution than this. Exclusion is not like this, is through no fault of these players, is not the way to go. And as much as I feel for the Ukrainian players and Ukrainian people, of course, it's just horrific what's going on. But I think this is just going further than needed to be going, quite frankly. I think it's a wrong decision.
The ATP agrees, calling the move damaging and a dangerous precedent, but Wimbledon says it would simply be unjustified to allow the Kremlin to derive benefits from any Russian success in the tournament. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
A quick look back at the top stories from this week. U.S. President Joe Biden announces a fresh package of weapons and aid for Ukraine as the country attempts to repel the Russian invasion. Battles continue to rage in the Ukrainian city of Mariupol, where Russian President Vladimir Putin called off an assault on a metal factory. And Russian and Belarusian tennis players won't be allowed to compete at Wimbledon this year. That's the latest feature story news. Ira Spitzer in San Francisco.
A local man treats his girlfriend to a sumptuous 20-second massage, and an area desk doesn't mind if people sit on it like a chair every once in a while. This is The Onion Week in Review. Following months of anticipation and global fanfare, the royal baby was finally born this week. Sources close to the royal family say the newborn prince spent his first days crawling around Buckingham Palace, eating his first meal, and even speaking his first words. The Onion has obtained this exclusive audio clip.
Ave Antichristi! Ave Antichristi!
In other news, a man's annual 6-sentence conversation with his cousin goes smoothly, a generous improv troupe performs for free, and a pool owner has a bathing suit that touched his penis you can borrow.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. We're kicking off the second hour of the program. You can join us here at 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Coming up tonight, there's a congressperson who has been caught wearing lingerie.
Congress critter?
Yes. And he likes the lingerie. Or at least that's what may be the case.
I mean, okay, but I don't really care.
I don't either. But it's interesting because he talks out against people who are not like totally straight-laced conservative. He's one of these. One of those guys.
Yeah.
You know, remember the story when that Congress guy was like playing footsie with the dude underneath the bathroom stall, and they busted him for like trying to have sex with some congressional aide, another man in the bathroom. And again, he was one of these. Them gays are bad. Gays bad.
Turns out he's gay.
Yeah. So it's that story all over again. We can get into that coming up here in moments. Otherwise, I'm with you, Captain. I don't care if you wear lingerie. Do whatever you want.
I mean, it'd probably be more fun if he wore it to like Congress, whenever he was doing his job. I just want to say something real quick about Ross Ulbricht.
Yeah, there's more to say about
and
that.
his Bitcoin. I'm just curious now. Let's just say he gets a job in the prison where he's at. I don't know. He's making license plates or doing dishes or serving slop or whatever he's doing, right? And he's making. I know you don't make diddly squat.
50 cents an hour.
50 cents
or a day or something.
So let's say he makes $20 a week, right? Just for a nice round number to imagine. Let's imagine he makes $20 a week, and that's more than enough to let's just say that's profit. His $20 a week. Okay. He's got all his expenses covered, right? Now he can give that up. Now that his debt is satisfied, his restitution is satisfied with this deal with this seized Bitcoin. I wonder if he can give that money to like a relative, for example, who can then take that money and put it into, I don't know, say Bitcoin, for example.
Sure.
And like literally dollar cost average
while in jail,
a prison wage into Bitcoin. I'd be curious to see
what that
turns into, on down the road, particularly if he gets out.
Yeah, that would be really nice. I would be happy just to find out that Ross Ulbricht ever gets out of prison.
And
he's an old man.
I suspect that the donations have been forthcoming, not only to his defense fund, but should he get out, I suspect he wouldn't have to worry about a place to live and food and stuff like that immediately.
We'll go to the phones here. We got TJ the Spy on the line here on our SIP line, as we call it. You can go to sip.freetalklive.com to learn how to connect to said SIP line. It is usually of a much higher quality than a typical phone call. TJ calling us, I believe, from his home in Colorado. Go ahead, TJ.
Hey, brother, how's it going? I was just calling about Ross Ulbricht. It turned out he had a birthday, I think, in late March, and so one of the things I sent him was a picture album of some landscapes I took pictures of various places in Colorado and held a sign that said "Free Ross" in them. And I sent them. I had them printed out on photo paper and send them to the prison to kind of brighten up his cell.
And they didn't reject it. They didn't throw it back at you and say you can't send pictures.
No, in fact, that was the requirement. Any photos sent to a federal prison inmate have to be printed on photo paper.
Okay, got it. Cool.
So it was one of those little rules, but I'm glad that he's doing well. His artwork is magnificent. I have all 3 of his black and white charcoal sketches in my room.
Nice.
And I just bought a reprint of his one called "What Happened to the Cages." So if you go to freeross.org, you can actually look at some of his artwork, some of his earlier work when he was in prison waiting trial, and you can also see his new NFT work, which has a lot of color. It's basically animation that he did cell by cell, and he exported them to make a movie.
Is that the NFT that raised, what was it?
6 million?
6 million, something like that? Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that online, and it was very sad because it was imagery, sort of an animated image of a man gaining years while behind prison cell bars, and pretty sad stuff, but that's the reality for him right now.
Well, I wrote him another letter, and I said, for what it's worth, he made a huge difference in my life and the life of many others. And so I said, if like he said, as the Dread Pirate Roberts, that he wanted to make a difference in the world. And I'd say by starting the Silk Road and making Bitcoin famous, he definitely made a huge impact on the world.
Yeah,
he did.
If there's ever any doubt, the man is at a minimum historical.
I don't know who said it. I know Lynn, his mom, gave credit to somebody at some Bitcoin convention years ago for this, but I'll always remember it was a great quote that There are two people. The most important two people to Bitcoin are Satoshi Nakamoto and Ross Ulbricht.
Agreed.
1 and 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that assessment. Yeah. And with any luck, if things go wrong at your trial, you can end up being his cellmate.
I don't think they do that. They generally keep people away from one another.
I don't know if I'd call that luck.
Yeah.
I mean, okay.
Well, I mean, I've been trying to get on his visitor list for a long time, but the COVID, you can't visit him in prison. But I've been thinking about taking a road trip with James down to Tucson, Arizona, where he's housed, and just say hello.
I just want to say thank you, TJ, for doing those types of things, for writing to him and the correspondence, things of that nature. I don't do that kind of stuff, but I'm certain that if I were in Ross's shoes and somebody were writing to me, I would appreciate it.
Well, did he write you back?
Oh yes, we have an ongoing correspondence, and so I keep all of his letters that he writes to me. Going back about 2 years.
Fantastic. Thank you for doing that. I think that I've had communications with Ross in the past, but now that I'm under federal bail conditions, it's probably against the rules. I know they don't allow people who are in different facilities to write to one another, so they probably would reject me. In fact, I got pre-rejected for Chris Cantwell.
Pre-rejected?
Yeah.
Wow.
Somehow.
How do you get rejected before you get rejected? That's interesting.
It was weird. They sent me an email saying you're banned from writing to Chris Cantwell, and I never even tried to write to Chris Cantwell. It was very strange. But,
very interesting. Well, brother, I'll be there in November when your trial is to wear Mr. Bitcoin, and hopefully they won't subpoena me. I've already gave my immunized proffer agreement to the U.S. government, where I told them that if I was called to testify against you at your trial, that I don't know anything. So that's what I said to them. And, my attorney, Paul Garrity, was there in the room. And so we had a nice little chat. It lasted 15 minutes. And hopefully they'll go on and bother someone who's an actual criminal now.
Yeah. We'll see about that. Thanks for the call tonight, TJ. Appreciate hearing from you.
I would require them looking in the mirror.
Oof. Let's talk to Sarah. She's in New Mexico. You're on Free Talk Live.
Oh, am I on?
You're on, Sarah.
Oh, okay. Oh, I just want to say that what I have noticed is that the ART route line.
That's a train, right? Is it a bus or a train? What is the ART?
The Albuquerque Rapid Transit.
Is that like a little train? Like an electric train?
No, it's actually a bus service.
Okay.
But it's fast. It's really nice. So every time they build these roads that are new and pedestrian safe, we get a lot of more expensive condominiums built. A lot of the nice apartments come up, and Hotel Hilton gets built. So it improves the value of the property along that route.
Well, if it actually did that, then the marketplace would just go ahead and do that on its own, and you wouldn't need the government to force everyone to pay for it.
Sarah's in this what is it? Correlation doesn't equal causation.
Yeah.
So what she sees is that Albuquerque gets this rapid transit line, and then all of a sudden some new condos go up, and she sees that as the cause. Oh, it must be because of this sweet rapid transit line. That's
because so many of the hotel patrons are coming in on the bus,
right?
On the city bus. Thanks for the call tonight, Sarah. The number is 603-283-6160. But no, instead of allowing the businesses that might want more business or whatever to build their own bus line, if it indeed does bring new business, no, they force the entire city of Albuquerque to pay for it and subsidize it. There's more coming up here. It's Free Talk Live. You can join us.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
When a lunar observatory detects a radio broadcast originating from Proxima Centauri, the nations of Earth discover their first contact with an alien race may also be their last. With the Proximans facing an extinction-level disaster, Earth must choose between sending a ship on a multi-year journey or allowing nature to take its course. Saving Proxima, a hard science fiction thriller by Travis S. Taylor and Les Johnson from BaneBooks.com.
Is oral health important to you? If you don't like your own teeth, fresh breath, or kissing people, then by all means stop listening. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I became passionate about the product that she created and never want to live without it. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, but I find it does much more. They want you to love My Magic Mud as much as I do, so they're giving you a money-back guarantee plus 20% off. Go to mymagicmud.com and use coupon code FTL20 at checkout. mymagicmud.com, FTL20.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it! You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Hi, I'm Derek J. To me, an activist's calling is to actively work to advance a cause. The cause for which I work is personal freedom. I believe my life is best when I engage in voluntary interactions and self-government. I reject the idea that anyone else has a higher claim to my life or my body than I do. I see people who call themselves the government as a threat to my personal freedom. I realize you may feel differently, but my relationship with the people who call themselves the government is completely involuntary. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live. Phones are open here. Live Saturday show. You can bring up whatever you want. Number 603-283-6160. I want to say thanks to Eric Haley, who is a Free Talk Live Gold supporter of the AMPS program. It's a Patreon. And you can join it over at amps.freetalklive.com. That's amps.freetalklive.com. Takes you right over to the Patreon page, where you can learn more and sign up with your PayPal, your credit card, or your debit card. And we appreciate it. It's all of $5 a month, although Eric's doing gold level, which means he's doing at least 10.
Many thanks, Eric.
Thank you, Eric, for that support. And you get some cool benefits, some perquisites, if you will, by signing up over it.
Some what?
Perquisites. That's what perks is short for. You ever heard perks? You get perks, like benefits?
Yeah.
Perquisite. That's what it's short for.
Huh.
Yeah, like pot is short for potentiometer in radio.
Yeah, I
Perks
get that.
is short for perquisites.
Huh.
Yeah, I didn't know that for a long time.
Oh.
So now you go to amps.freetalklive.com.
I feel like I'm on South Park. You know, I learned something today.
So a little bit more about Ross Ulbricht, the founder of the Silk Road, who has all of a sudden had his $183 million fine paid off because the government found who hacked his website a long time ago and recovered 70,000 bitcoins. And they said, well, you know what? We'll just go ahead and sign a deal with Ross Ulbricht and keep these 70,000 bitcoins because it's worth $3 billion. And we'll go ahead and use that to pay off his debt because we're feeling nice. No, that's not why they did it. We're still not really clear on why they did it. They say it's because they didn't want Ross Ulbricht to challenge the ownership of the coins and try to claim they were his.
There might be something to that, too. I was thinking during the break that when it comes to government seizing property, particularly if drugs are involved, agencies like the DEA will generally retain those proceeds to fund their department or their investigations or what have you.
That's right.
So there might be something to that because think of that payday for that agency.
Oh, yeah.
Considering all that's involved here, if they didn't want to wait for that money, they'd have to make sure that all the T's are crossed and I's are dotted before they could actually transduce that BTC legally into USD and fund whatever it is they wanted to fund.
Right. So that's the story, is that they wanted to clear the way legally and just make sure that Ross couldn't call into question this seizure, try to put some sort of claim on these funds, even though he wouldn't have succeeded with that because obviously the funds were the proceeds of alleged crime. Even though we don't think that it's a crime to run a website, a free market website, the federal government certainly does. And that's what he was convicted of, right? So I don't think he would have been successful at any kind of claim on those funds. But just to avoid the entire procedure, they said, all right, well, sign this paper, just signs it over to us, confirms that you don't have any claim on it, and we'll waive the $183 million. We'll consider it paid. Now, of course, he's still sitting in prison for the rest of his life, plus another life sentence, plus 40 years. And his mom is still fighting to get him out from behind bars. She says, quote, "This is just a reminder, another reminder that the case against Ross has always been misrepresented and weak, and we look forward to the day when Ross's unjust sentence is corrected and he returns to the free world where he can contribute to society," unquote. And by the way, Ross Ulbricht is a member of the Free State Project, so presumably if he gets out of prison, or when he gets out of prison, because I'd like to be optimistic about it.
I'd like to try and manifest that. Yeah.
He'll
So
move
when he
here.
gets out, I'm with you.
He'll move here to New Hampshire.
That'd be great.
And join the Free State, as he said he was doing.
I'm sure he would have tons of support.
She notes, however, that like any prisoner, her son cannot hold any financial assets in prison beyond a commissary account for basic needs. Recent sales of the NFTs, TJ mentioned the artwork that he's been making, based on his art, for instance, raised more than $6 million worth of crypto, but the funds went into a trust earmarked for Ulbricht's defense, she says, as well as charitable contributions to other prisoners and their families. The restitution repayment doesn't mean much for Ulbricht's hopes of a pardon or a change to his sentence, argues Weaver, but it does do away with a restitution order that he's always considered a misguided blood-from-a-stone attempt to squeeze Ulbricht for more bitcoins. He says, quote, this is the guy that has been following the case they talked to. He says, somebody involved in the early days of the Silk Road is no longer the subject of the Fed's ire. The Feds got their restitution, and Ross no longer has that stupidity hanging over him. It seems like a win-win-win for all involved. Well, I guess if you consider having a gun to your head and, the trigger not being pulled a win, okay, yeah, there is that, but the dude's still in a prison cell. I mean, it's hard to get too excited about this particular news, but it is interesting nonetheless that it has transpired, and I hope that even though people are skeptical that this will in any way assist him, that in whatever court hearings are to come, that it could somehow be a factor in his favor.
And I just want to point out again, not to be redundant, but this is the government stealing stolen property.
That's right. The 70,000 bitcoins was stolen from Ross's website, and now the government's got it, and they're going to sell it.
Yep.
And they're going to make $3 billion off of this deal.
That's a lot of funding.
Sure is. Well, I mean, for them, it's drop in the bucket. I mean, $3 billion here, $3 billion there.
Okay, but maybe for a department that's, maybe going to get the axe or get its budget cut or something like that.
That's not going to happen.
Okay, but now they can afford better gear to
to arrest more innocent people.
Yeah, to break into more radio stations or whatever they're going to do. Right?
Exactly. So there's your update on the Ross Ulbricht situation. I want to encourage you again, if you're just tuning in and you're hearing about this, go to freeross.org and take the time to learn about this case. It is absolutely fascinating in an outrageous sort of manner, in a, oh my God, how could they do this to this person kind of manner. You can go to freeross.org. There's a petition signature that they could still use. They've got almost 500,000 signatures, and there's all kinds of information here, everything from Ross's writings, his artwork. There's a detailed, essentially a detailed documentary, and I'm trying to see where they've linked. There's a lot of content on this site. Railroaded. There you go. You go down the page a little bit, and you'll find Railroaded, the real story of Silk Road. And then they give sentencing disparities. They look at other people who were involved in this case or related cases and look at their sentences.
Yeah.
The biggest drug dealer on Silk Road, Jan Slomp, received 10 years. That guy, I believe, was like a heroin dealer. Another guy, another large drug seller, 5 years. Forum moderator on Silk Road, 17 months. An administrator on Silk Road, 6.5 years. Andrew Jones, 5.5 years. Which is actually interesting. I'd been following Jones's case for a long time, and for a long time, it was just in limbo. Years after Ross was sentenced, he had not been sentenced at all, but apparently he did get 5.5 years. And the reason I followed his case was because he actually came to Keene years ago.
It's, again, not to be redundant, but the Silk Road did far more to eliminate violence within
the drug trade
than government has ever in its entire existence
done.
That's
true. Yep. In 2 years of existence, they saved countless lives, prevented countless people from being robbed at gunpoint in the street and drug deals gone bad, and increased the quality of the products that are available in the black market through competition.
Yeah.
Lowered prices and really helped a lot of people. The guy's a hero.
Agreed.
And he's sitting in prison on a double life sentence plus 40 years without the possibility of parole, while everybody else, it looks like they're almost all out of prison at this point. Including the corrupt cops, by the way, that were involved in the arrest. One of those got 8 years and the other 6.5. More coming up here in moments. This is Free Talk Live. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
You can help more people hear the message of liberty by joining Free Talk Live's AMPS program on Patreon for as little as $5 a month. And you'll get access to special perks. Visit amps.freetalklive.com, amps.freetalklive.com.
From Feature Story News in San Francisco, I'm Ira Spitzer with a look back at the week's top stories. We begin in Washington, D.C. On Thursday, U.S. President Joe Biden announced a fresh package of weapons and aid for Ukraine in an attempt to reinforce the country's forces battling against the Russian invasion. In an address from the White House, President Biden warned that Ukraine is facing a critical window as Russia launches an offensive in the east. Here's U.S. correspondent Benji Heyer.
$800 million in military assistance, including heavy artillery weapons, 144,000 rounds of ammunition, and more tactical drones. It's part of another huge package unveiled by the administration on Thursday, and if approved, it would mean the U.S. has committed approximately $3.4 billion in assistance to Ukraine since the conflict began. As well as bolstering Ukraine's resistance on the battlefield, Joe Biden wanted to express support for the people of Ukraine.
We intend to provide an additional $500 million in direct economic assistance to the Ukrainian government. We've already welcomed tens of thousands of Ukrainians to the United States, and today I'm announcing a new program to enable Ukrainians seeking refuge to come directly from Europe to the United States.
Also on Thursday, Russia's President Vladimir Putin said it's unnecessary for Russian lives to be wasted trying to storm a metal factory in the besieged southern Ukrainian city of Mariupol and ordered any assault to be canceled. Stuart Smith reports from Moscow, where restrictions on reporting the war are in place.
The defense minister told the president 2,000 fighters still remained, but that the rest of Mariupol had been captured and the situation calm, meaning citizens could return. The president said that can be considered a success. To those who still remained at the factory, he said Russia guarantees their lives and decent treatment in accordance with international law if they come out. Ukraine's top negotiators have requested an urgent meeting with the Russian delegation at the site in Mariupol to try to save the lives of everyone there.
And on Wednesday, the All England Lawn Tennis Club announced that Russian and Belarusian tennis players will not be allowed to compete at Wimbledon this year. Chris Jones has more from London.
This is a crushing blow for the likes of Russia's Daniil Medvedev, who is the men's singles number 2. He, along with many others, won't be allowed to compete at Wimbledon this year, one of the world's biggest tennis tournaments. The All England Lawn Tennis Club says it made the decision because of the unjustified and unprecedented military aggression in Ukraine. The UK's Lawn Tennis Association has also banned Russian and Belarusian players from playing at any of the UK grass court tournaments. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov criticised the ban. He says the tournaments will suffer as a result.
That's the latest feature story news. Ira Spitzer in San Francisco.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live. The phones are open. You can join us. Live Saturday show. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Here in the studio tonight, it's Ian.
And the Reverend Captain Kickass.
You can join us online as well over at freetalklive.com. Lots of features are there. We also have an Odyssey channel. That's where we stream live every single night, video. Of course, we have audio live streams available at freetalklive.com. But if you prefer to watch and interact with our other Odyssey listeners, you can do that at video.freetalklive.com. That'll take you right to our channel. If you go to watch.freetalklive.com, it takes you right to the live stream page. So either one will get you there, and it is a great way to watch the show, but also see archives as well if you want to go back in time and see what we did earlier this week or last year or whatever. You can do that over at video.freetalklive.com. And the Odyssey platform is way better than YouTube because they're way more freedom-oriented over there.
And they're getting better daily. Like, they're about ready to release their sort of version of Patreon.
I heard about this.
Yeah. I keep getting emails from them about it, and so it's coming. And yes, please bring it on, because that is what is needed, right? Patreon, while it's a good idea, is restrictive because it only accepts credit cards, right? Debit cards, that kind of a thing. Whereas something like Odyssey, natively crypto.
Yeah, they've been getting more like dollar-oriented, sure, I guess, because that's what a lot of their creators want. They're more than just a crypto-based website. They're
Absolutely
trying to compete with YouTube, so you can donate in dollars. But
to just have the option, I mean, Patreon isn't going, hey, we're going to also accept crypto here in the next 6 months. No, they're not.
Not at all. Check us out over at video.freetalklive.com. So I don't follow who these Congress critters are.
Yeah.
I don't know one from the other for the most part. I could not have told you who Madison Cawthorn, which is a really strange first name for a man, but Madison.
What's his last name?
Cawthorn.
Cawthorn?
C-A-W-T-H-O-R-N.
Like Hawthorne with a C.
Wouldn't have known him from Adam. I don't know who these people are. But what I saw in the news over the last, 2 days, it popped up over on Drudge Report from Politico.com, exclusive. Madison Cawthorn photos reveal him wearing women's lingerie in a public setting. Now, I don't care what you want to wear. And I don't care who you want to party with or what you're doing, as long as everybody's consenting.
Yeah, as long as you're not hurting anybody, I could care less.
You can put on whatever lingerie you want to, take whatever photos you want to, sell them, give them away. I don't care. But when you're a politician and you make a name for yourself about how conservative and prim and proper and Christian and blah, blah, blah that you are, and then you go and you do this, I want to talk about it. Because I find that particularly interesting. I find that particularly hypocritical.
Oh, very much.
From characters like this. And this keeps on happening.
Of course it does.
Right? Photographs obtained by Politico appear to show Madison Cawthorn, the embattled Republican congressman from North Carolina who recently accused his GOP colleagues of inviting him to orgies wearing lingerie in what appears to be a party setting. So apparently this guy was invited to orgies and he declined, allegedly, those invites.
Okay, so first of all, GOP orgies.
Yeah, right?
Like,
what is that?
I mean, first of all, they got to be the most boring orgies ever.
Either that or they're really like crazy. You know, the sexual repression of people can kind of
get a
manifest.
couple of drinks in them, it gets all wild.
Yeah, it sexually repressed people can manifest in some very strange ways. So God knows what goes on at these things. Cawthorn is only 26, by the way.
Oh, okay.
He was raised in...
I was imagining a bunch of like old, stuffy, like Republican types.
No, I should... Well, you saw,
yeah,
the
I saw the picture,
yeah. He was raised in a conservative Baptist community in Henderson County, North Carolina, and has staked his political persona on arch traditional Christian principles and the insistence of the importance of a kind of hyper-masculinity. His comments about, quote, the sexual perversion, unquote, in Washington, made on a podcast, which he later admitted were exaggerated, drew the public disapproval and disavowal of Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy as well as other Republican leaders, including those in his North Carolina congressional caucus. The revelation of the two photos is the latest in a series of unflattering headlines for the freshman member of Congress in the run-up to the primary in his first re-election bid. Said primary is coming up May 17th.
Okay. Isn't this kind of, though, like a politician prerequisite? Don't all politicians...
hypocrite?
Well, yeah, but also to have some sort of thing...
Skeletons in the closet?
Something drug up from, either... something they do or something they did that, sort of makes them look bad in the light of the public.
Because they are bad people.
And all that kind of, yes.
And they're hiding things.
Right, but I mean, this seems like a rite of passage for politicians.
To be in lingerie, you mean? Or to be hiding something?
To be publicly shamed for something. Which I agree with. Like, in fact, I think all politicians should feel a whole bunch of shame whenever they're in public because, well, they're really criminals. But, it seems to me every politician goes through something like this.
Cawthorn was paralyzed, apparently, from the waist down as a passenger in a car accident in Florida in 2014. In recent months, has called Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky a thug, which he's not wrong about that, suggested teetotaling Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi has a drinking problem, probably also true, and racked up a collection of traffic transgressions, including speeding, driving with expired tags, and driving with a revoked license. Don't care. I don't care what he does as far as, speeding or whatever. Everybody speeds. He has court dates in May and June. Politico could not independently verify the photos, which are screenshots of the original images. They're provided by a person formerly close to Cawthorn and his campaign. A second person formerly close to him confirmed the origin of the photos. The date they were taken is unclear, though they appear to show him sitting in a wheelchair, indicating the event happened after his accident. In the photos, he's wearing a distinctive pendant necklace that appeared in other images and videos of Cawthorn, and his spokesman did not respond. However, Cawthorn has now tweeted and basically admitted that these things are real, because he could have denied it, right? Oh, it's a Photoshop. He admitted it. He said the photos were taken of him during a game on a cruise before he was elected to Congress. Quote, I guess the left thinks goofy vacation photos during a game on a cruise taken way before I ran for Congress is somehow going to hurt me? They're running out of things to throw at me. Share your most embarrassing vacation pics in the replies. Unquotes. So that's how he's pawning this one off. It's like, oh, it's just a little game I played while wearing lingerie and having women who look like fag hags all over me. And
I haven't heard that term in a while, sorry.
And the look on this guy's face in one of these photos, he also is apparently wearing hoop earrings as well. Yeah. So not just lingerie, but fully done up.
Yeah.
The look on his face, I have seen gay men with this look on their face before. Like, this is a gay look to me.
You think he's in the closet?
I think he is absolutely a closeted gay man.
Yeah?
Absolutely. I don't have good gaydar. Bonnie does, though, so I showed her these pictures, and she agreed with me. So, and again, I don't care if this guy's gay. Whatever, dude. Yeah, do whatever you want.
Don't be a hypocrite about it.
But don't get out there and say, here's one of the things he said. I was raised on Proverbs and push-ups, he said in a podcast in September of 2020. Quote, I subscribe to Judeo-Christian beliefs. I have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. I think if you think about my political ideology, where it really stems from, my ethics and my morals and what I think is right and wrong, you look to ancient Jerusalem. You got ancient Judeo-Christian values, so right and wrong. I also cling to a lot of traditional values and a lot of traditional ideas because they've worked in the past.
Well, if he had any real sense of ethics and morals, the last thing he would be is a politician.
A politician? He said, I think we have bred a generation of soft men, and that generation has created a lot of problems in our society and our culture. He said also on a podcast in March of last year, he said, designed to reclaim and restore masculinity in a society that is ever more dismissive of what it means to be a man. Further, he said in a tweet earlier this week, there's only one God and two genders. So that gives you an idea of who this person is, or at least who they represent themselves as. And the hypocrisy is not that surprising here. Yet another truth revealed about a politician who's lying to you. More coming up here. You can join us on Free Talk Live. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with AgristHosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to AgristHosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's AgristHosting.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. You can join us here. You can bring up whatever is on your mind here in the studio tonight. It's Ian
and the captain.
Whether you want to talk about Ross Ulbricht and the latest in his case with the Silk Road and his wrongful sentencing to 2 life terms in prison plus 40 years, you want to weigh in on that, you're certainly welcome to do so, or bring up whatever's on your mind, or this another hypocritical politician who is...
But you repeat yourself.
Yeah, indeed. This one got caught, though. And he's caught wearing lingerie in some sort of a, I don't know, just review show or whatever on a cruise line, allegedly. And he's admitted to it. And he blew it off as though it's just a little bit of fun. And I'm sure it was for him, because he clearly enjoyed putting on that lingerie.
He does appear to be having fun in the photo.
Yeah. And so do the ladies that are with him in that photograph. 2 photos, as a matter of fact. He's got quite a look on his face, a look of pure enjoyment in that instance. But if you were to only read the things that he says on his Twitter or in public commentary, he sounds like he's all about the masculine man and being completely right-wing and conservative and Christian, and then he's wearing lingerie on a cruise publicly with other people. So you tell me.
I immediately discount anybody who works for any government entity when they bring up the words ethics and morals.
Yep.
You're immediately discounted.
Because it is immoral to be a politician and run the government. And the government is an organization of violence. It is, even as Barack Obama admitted, a monopoly on violence.
And it's not just that it's an organization of violence, right? That, like, when people say it's an organization, like, lay people who've never heard anybody say that before will go, well, so that's one of many organizations that are based on... No, actually, it's the only one.
It's the apex one.
It's the only organization type government that is based solely on violence. Not only that, though. Like, that's bad enough if you think about it. Right? Oh, it's an organization that's based on violence. Government as an organization type, a people organization type, is responsible for all of the most heinous, largest, inhumane things ever done to people.
Yes.
Like, if you go, war.
Hundreds of millions dead.
Hundreds of millions.
In just the 20th century.
Yeah, 262 million, I think, is the democide statistic. Yep. That, in and of itself, should be enough for anybody to look at it and go, oh, okay, guys, we should just go ahead and abolish this as a human organization type.
But no,
we're way better off. Like, I would definitely take my chances one-on-one against any psychopath.
What about the warlords,
Any
Captain?
psychopath, right? Because I'm pretty sure that one-on-one, I'll be able to get my, whatever it is, justice, whatever you want to call it, or defend myself from them one-on-one. When you give them an entire institution to run with bombs and military gear and planes and drones and now all this spyware that they're using to spy on everybody, it's a global phenomenon. It's not just the U.S. government. It's all of the governments are doing this crap now. When you give them an entire agency with which to perpetuate their evil, I can't think of anything worse.
I'm with you.
It should be super obvious to everybody that it's time for that organization type to go away.
Yeah, I wish more people would see it that way. Unfortunately, they run the schools. They are the ones indoctrinating people, and so we're nowhere even near having it being super obvious to people about that, because most people, if they can see a problem, and it's easy to show them the problems with the state, most people can acknowledge the state has all kinds of issues. They don't have the conclusion of, oh, well, let's get rid of it. Their conclusion is...
they usually go, well, what are we going to do?
Well, no, the conclusion is, well, throw the bums out. Put new bums in.
How'd the bums get in there in the first place?
Let's go to John. He's on the line in New York, listening in Watertown to WTNY. Go ahead, John.
Thanks, guys, for being on the air.
Sure.
I just wanted to let you guys know that dancing around in lingerie and someone else's panties might not be the best way to have a party, especially as a GOP representative for the Republicans, especially if they're going to take the primaries. But maybe they should be probably doing it on drugs, considering that the legalization of marijuana is coming up to vote again in New Hampshire. From what I'm reading in the usnews.com report is that Thursday, as of January 6, 2022, that 3/4 of an ounce would be able to be grown and 6 plants would be able to be had by New Hampshire residents. So I'm kind of curious about what you guys think. New York has legalized marijuana for recreational use. However, there's no way to actually grow or buy these plants except for a dispensary. What do you guys think about that?
Well,
should it be legalized for recreational use for purchase by regular dealers, or do you think that it should be regulated from the dispensaries?
It's a great question. I appreciate you asking. I lived in Seattle, Washington for 22 years before moving to New Hampshire about 3 years ago. And so I got to see what happens when a state government legalizes recreational marijuana. Here's what happens. They regulate the crap out of it. They take roughly half of everybody's income at every stage of the process. So if it's the growers, they take like 40%. If it's the distributors, they take like 44%. And then the retailers, they take like another 40%. They force them to behave with the rules that are already in place for alcohol. Now, these are two different substances completely. And so they shouldn't be forced to conform to rules for a different substance, first and foremost. Ignoring all of that, however, it is my personal philosophy that drugs should have never become illegal. People seek them out, whether they're legal or illegal, and it is a very presumptive stance for an organization of violence to take to think that they know how to live a life that isn't theirs better than anybody else. Now, I make my own personal decisions. If there is a drug that I want to take, I take it, whether or not it's legal in the eyes of the government. And many people across the globe have done so for hundreds, thousands, millions of years even. Marijuana, specifically, is a plant. It grows. You find it in nature. Mm-hmm. You can literally,
it's a weed.
You can literally walk through like a state forest and stumble on a wild marijuana plant.
Sure.
So for an organization known as government, an organization of violence, to go plant bad is very presumptive of them, and in my humble opinion, a bunch of horse hockey.
John, before you go on, I just want to throw in on your question. You mentioned something on January 6th. I think what you're referring to would have been the state house that voted for a marijuana legalization provision, and that now is facing the state Senate, so it has not yet passed. The state Senate they had a committee hear it, and that committee voted against it. So the committee's recommendation is that the state Senate kill the bill. And in this case, I do agree. I think the bill should be killed because, and I fully support the idea of having cannabis be completely unregulated and completely free to the marketplace to do whatever they want with. This bill would have created a government sales apparatus for cannabis. It would have created government stores, kind of like the government in New Hampshire runs the liquor distribution business. It has liquor stores and does not allow competition. The same thing would be true of cannabis if this bill were to go through. So that's what we're talking about here. But cannabis is decriminalized and has been since 2017 here as far as possession is concerned.
And now think about this for just a minute. The caller is John. Think about this for just a minute, John. If that bill were to have gone through, how hypocritical would it have been for government to go, plant bad, and then, oh, wait, no, it can be good now, but only if we're the dealer.
Yep, that's right.
Well, that's the other problem, is that the Brookings Institute released an article actually a lot earlier than that one from 2022 from the House of New Hampshire to state in March 1st of 1996, drug legalization, time for a real debate, where they talk about the legalization of all drugs under the sun, making it more of a health problem rather than a legal problem than has been persistent in our nuclear family problem. So the nuclear family, considering husband and wife, the true family as of the Constitution and everything else that we understand to be Judeo-Christian, as you guys had previously talked about, that is true. So why can't we just legalize all drugs and just say that?
I am completely with you on that. The entire war on drugs needs to end. It's an insane violation of people's rights.
And drugs already won the war.
No doubt about it. Thank you, John, for the call tonight. Great topic. We'll continue in hour 3 coming up. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in San Francisco, I'm Ira Spitzer with a look back at the week's top stories. We begin in Washington, D.C. On Thursday, U.S. President Joe Biden announced a fresh package of weapons and aid for Ukraine in an attempt to reinforce the country's forces battling against the Russian invasion. In an address from the White House, President Biden warned that Ukraine is facing a critical window as Russia launches an offensive in the east. Here's U.S. correspondent Benji Heyer.
$800 million in military assistance, including heavy artillery weapons, 144,000 rounds of ammunition, and more tactical drones. It's part of another huge package unveiled by the administration on Thursday, and if approved, it would mean the U.S. has committed approximately $3.4 billion in assistance to Ukraine since the conflict began. As well as bolstering Ukraine's resistance assistance on the battlefield, Joe Biden wanted to express support for the people of Ukraine.
We intend to provide an additional $500 million in direct economic assistance to the Ukrainian government. We've already welcomed tens of thousands of Ukrainians to the United States, and today I'm announcing a new program to enable Ukrainians seeking refuge to come directly from Europe to the United States.
Also on Thursday, Russia's President Vladimir Putin said it's unnecessary for Russian lives to be wasted trying to storm a metal factory in the besieged southern Ukrainian city of Mariupol and ordered any assault to be canceled. Stuart Smith reports from Moscow, where restrictions on reporting the war are in place.
The defense minister told the president 2,000 fighters still remained, but that the rest of Mariupol had been captured and the situation calm, meaning citizens could return. The president said that can be considered a success. To those who still remained at the factory, he said Russia guarantees their lives and decent treatment in accordance with international law if they come out. Ukraine's top negotiators have requested an urgent meeting with the Russian delegation at the site in Mariupol to try to save the lives of everyone there.
And on Wednesday, the All England Lawn Tennis Club announced that Russian and Belarusian tennis players will not be allowed to compete at Wimbledon this year. Chris Jones has more from London.
This is a crushing blow for the likes of Russia's Daniil Medvedev, who is the men's singles number 2. He, along with many others, won't be allowed to compete at Wimbledon this year, one of the world's biggest tennis tournaments. The All England Lawn Tennis Club says it made the decision because of the unjustified and unprecedented military aggression in Ukraine. The UK's Lawn Tennis Association has also banned Russian and Belarusian players from playing at any of the UK grass court tournaments. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov criticised the ban. He says the tournament will suffer as a result.
That's the latest feature story news. Ira Spitzer in San Francisco.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks. Today, former Wimbledon champion Martina Navratilova, with her view of the decision by the All England club to ban Russian and Belarusian players from this summer's championships. She went through her own turmoil in 1978 when she first won the women's crown. Her parents were still in communist Czechoslovakia, and the authorities there refused them permission to travel to the UK to watch their daughter play. Today, Navratilova says she opposes Wimbledon's efforts to punish Russian players for the actions of Vladimir Putin.
I wish they had actually talked to me. Maybe I would provide a slightly different perspective, and maybe I wouldn't have changed anybody's mind, but I feel a lot of these decisions are made in a vacuum where they don't take input from the people that are affected by this and find a better solution than this. Exclusion is not like this, is through no fault of these players, is not the way to go. And as much as I feel for the Ukrainian players and Ukrainian people, of course, it's just horrific what's going on. But I think this is just going further than needed to be going, quite frankly. I think it's a wrong decision.
The ATP agrees, calling the move damaging and a dangerous precedent, but Wimbledon says it would simply be unjustified to allow the Kremlin to derive benefits from any Russian success in the tournament. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
A quick look back at the top stories from this week. U.S. President Joe Biden announces a fresh package of weapons and aid for Ukraine as the country attempts to repel the Russian invasion. Battles continue to rage in the Ukrainian city of Mariupol, where Russian President Vladimir Putin called off an assault on a metal factory. And Russian and Belarusian tennis players won't be allowed to compete at Wimbledon this year. That's the latest feature story news. Ira Spitzer in San Francisco.
I'm Brooke Alvarez, and while I may not acknowledge your presence in person, and if you try to approach me, you'll most certainly be hit in the face with the stinging nettles I carry on me at all times, I like to take a moment every now and again to answer your questions so that you can get to know the real me. Here's a tweet from @Kirkamunga saying, what is the most important thing to remember when talking to people who may not be as informed as you? I love this question, Kirkamunga. There are 3 simple steps to dealing with uninformed people. First, when you realize that someone doesn't know something, repeat very loudly in their face the thing they don't know. For example, you don't know who the Prime Minister of Zimbabwe is? Second, look to everyone around you and let them know that this person is completely ignorant. Hey everyone, Sebastian doesn't know who the Prime Minister of Zimbabwe is. Third, you call up the Prime Minister of Zimbabwe and tell him that Sebastian doesn't know who he is, and then laugh really loudly until the ignorant person just leaves in utter shame. If you'd like to ask me a question, just tweet it to my handle @BrookeAlvarez or post it to my Facebook wall.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live. Kicking off the third hour here of the live Saturday show. With you tonight, it's Ian.
And the Captain.
Coming up, the Captain has a story.
Oh, I do, don't I?
Regarding potential sabotage.
I do?
Of food processing facilities.
Oh, yes.
And it's very concerning. We'll get into that coming up here in a little bit. The number is 603-283-6160. Of course, the phones are always open for you here on Free Talk Live. As we continue, we will get right back into your calls and thoughts. We're going down to New Mexico, where Richard is on the line. Go ahead, Richard.
Yes, I'm calling in to...
Richard, do me a favor. Back off that phone about, 2-3 inches.
Okay. I'm calling in to clear up some confusion on the Live Talk Radio staff. Apparently, Sarah has tried to explain the company that I'm involved with being a multi-level marketing company, but our company is different because our company doesn't advertise. It's a wholesale marketing company, and we recruit people by word of mouth.
Yep, that's pretty standard for network marketing. In fact, when she called in to talk about it, she wouldn't say what the company was, claiming that she was not allowed to. And what I explained was that it's actually fairly common. So you said it's unusual, but it's actually fairly common in the network marketing industry for network marketing associates, or whatever the term, they always use some sort of term like that. The independent marketing agents cannot do radio advertising or television advertising or internet advertising. They have to go word of mouth.
Yes, that's where apparently Sarah confused everybody, because our company just goes on word of mouth. We tell people about our products. Our company has been in business for 37 years. We have over 4,000 personal care and home care
So is this
products.
Amway? I mean, can you tell us who it is?
No, I cannot on the radio.
Okay, but let me ask, what exactly is word of mouth? Now, if we look at the term word of mouth, it just means words coming from somebody's mouth. Now, if you're just saying, does word of mouth mean in person, live only? Does it mean that you can tell somebody about it over the phone? Because guess what? You're talking to us over the phone right now.
You're not buying radio advertising.
Right. You're not purchasing radio advertising.
And we are going to be critical of whatever it is you say.
Likely.
We're not going to pump it up for you or anything like that. So I'm just curious as to what it is you're marketing.
Okay, we market personal care and home care
But there's
products.
a billion of these companies that do that. I mean, whether it's...
Yes, our company, though, is mostly natural product ingredients. We're not like other products that have formaldehydes and chemicals in their products.
All right, so here's what I want to know, Richard. Are you one of the affiliates of this company? Are you signed up to sell these products? Whatever they call it. They have some name for it, right? Like independent marketing associate or something like that?
Well, I run into people and tell them about our company, how it is structured.
Yes, we understand how that works. But you didn't answer my question. So my question for you is, it sounds like you are, but I'm just wanting to clarify, because Sarah, she'll say one thing and then she'll say something else. She doesn't really seem to know, or she doesn't want to be honest about it, or whatever. I'm not really sure. But it didn't sound like Sarah is the person who signed up for this product or this company. It sounds like it's you. You're the person who signed up. Are you a distributor for this network marketing company?
We do not distribute. I run into people. I tell them about our company, and then if they're interested in buying the products, I sign them up, and then they put in their orders after they're signed up.
Do you get a percentage of their order?
Yes.
Okay, you're a distributor. I don't know why you're dodging the question about that. I understand you're saying that you don't physically deliver the products to the people, but you are working with this company to make a percentage, and presumably if they sign up as a distributor, or whatever the term is, you're not telling us because you're being very coy about what this company is. If they sign up as a distributor underneath you, then you'll get a percentage of any sales that they make, and so on down the line, hence the term downline,
right, yeah.
For these companies. So if I were to go and put you on hold, Richard, and I were to ask you on hold when we're not on the air what this company is, would you tell me?
Yes, I would.
Great. Stand by. So I want to put Richard on, because I'm just curious, right? There's a bunch of these companies out there.
Yeah.
And I want to know who it is so I can research it. Not because I'm interested in buying their potions and their lotions and their, soaps or whatever it is that they have, some of which may be excellent products. In a lot of cases, network marketing, there's some really scammy companies, like straight up scams, just moving money around, total money wealth redistribution companies.
Yep.
And then there's the companies that actually have a product, some of which can be decent, but almost always they're overpriced. Like compared to something similar, just that you can buy in the marketplace, you always pay more because they have to build in a huge profit in order to pay all these different levels of distribution and so on. You sound like you know a thing or two about this, Captain.
Multi-level marketing has been around for a long time. I know some people that at some point were involved with one of the more well-known, Amway.
Oh, yeah, it's the big one.
The big one. And so also, when I was unemployed and searching for a job once upon a time, I responded to this, entry-level position, come to our free seminar, on Wednesday.
In this hotel room.
Wednesday, it was a hotel meeting room. Wednesday at 2 p.m. or whatever, food provided. And like, I was poor. I didn't have food. And I'm like, oh, sweet, snacks, right?
Just got to listen to the spiel.
Maybe I'll get a meal on there. Maybe I'll get a job. Who knows? So I go.
And how old were you again?
Oh, man. I don't know. Early 20s at best.
Where did you see this promotion?
This would have probably been might have been like Toledo, Ohio when I was there.
But it wasn't another person? It was just
might
an
have been Seattle. No, it was, there were many people. Like you go and, I'm here for the thing. I brought a resume.
I missed where you said you heard about it, though.
It might have been Seattle.
But where, like, was it, you saw an advertisement?
Oh, yeah, it was in like the want ads.
Okay, got
like
it.
Maybe a Craigslist post or
got it.
The newspaper, old school, right? Help wanted section. And it was just like, show up, bring your resume. And I'm like, okay, I needed a job and I was hungry. So I went. They did have snacks, by the way.
Okay.
So I was like, oh, sweet, snacks. And then it was creepy.
Yeah, culty. Right?
Very, very, like everybody was, I want to say, artificially happy to see me.
Oh, Captain, welcome.
Yeah.
Come on in.
They're like, oh, you're our best friend, even though we've only just met you right now. And I was like, okay, this is weird.
Have you tried the product yet?
And I'm like, well, no, they didn't even go there. They were just like, don't worry, everything's going to be fine. You are going to make so much money. Oh. Right? One of these kind of things.
Wow.
And so at some point, everybody was there, and I said hello to some other people who were there, and I was kind of creeped out by the people who were representing this company, whatever it was. But they were going to dim the lights and play some sort of presentation or whatever.
The boat, the cars, the trip, the cruise.
I got maybe 15 minutes into their presentation, and I was like, okay, I see what this is. I'm out of here.
You'd already encountered Amway or something prior to that?
I don't know. I think it was just my gut telling me that this isn't how you're going to make money.
Yeah.
This isn't going to pay your rent
for you.
You got rent due. This isn't going to cut the mustard.
Right.
So I just got up and left.
Were they pitching potions and lotions?
They hadn't even gotten to that
soaps?
part yet. They were talking about like some kind of club you get into after you make X amount of dollars and
the President's Club,
all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
The Diamond Distributor.
Lead with the benefits, I guess, is what they were doing.
The number 603-283-6160. Set your own hours.
Yeah, I like 0 hours.
You're your own boss. There's more coming up here. It's Free Talk Live.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
Brute force, intransigent defiance, adamantine will. These are the hallmarks of the AI tank. These gigantic machines have the firepower of an army, but they also have their own sense of honor and duty. When the world breakers arrive, battle will be joined, planets will shake, and war and peace will never be the same again. World Breakers. Stories from David Weber, Larry Correia, and more. Available August 3rd from BaneBooks.com.
I'm a little obsessed with My Magic Mud. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, the founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I didn't even know my teeth were coffee stained. A week's worth of use convinced me, and now I use it every 3 or 4 days. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, and I think it cleans better, too. My Magic Mud's available at most local health food stores, Sprouts, Natural Grocers, CVS, Walmart's Natural Beauty Aisle, but I can get it for you for 20% off with coupon code FTL20 at mymagicmud.com. FTL20 mymagicmud.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm.
There are basically 2 types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live. You can join the show. You can bring in whatever you want. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Here in the studio, you've got Ian.
And the captain.
We were just talking with Richard in New Mexico, and he was being very reserved when it came to promoting the company that he is working with in network marketing.
Well, and I feel like he was just afraid that he would violate some rule or something.
The terms.
Yeah. So.
I did speak with him off the air, and she had said it before. Sarah had said it before. I just didn't remember what it was. Melaleuca is the name of the company. And I remember when I looked it up, because there's a really great website called Behind MLM where they do in-depth reviews of a lot of these companies. It's clearly written by somebody who has had a lot of experience in the business, and they've got a lot of expertise on how to break apart one of the compensation plans and opinions about the products and what they're offering, whether it's just a straight up scam or there's actually a legitimate opportunity. And I remember when I looked for it there, it didn't really jump out as one of the obvious scams. So as far as companies go, they've been around for a long time. That's usually a better sign that they're not a total scam from top to bottom. But that doesn't mean that this is necessarily, like you said, Captain, the right opportunity for any given person. It is incredibly difficult to do network marketing. You have to be very good at sales. And you also have to not really care about burning every single bridge that you possibly have in your personal life.
And what I don't like about the MLM industry as a whole is that, generally speaking, to get started, you have to market to
people
your friends and family, your circle, whatever that means to you.
And boy, do they get tired of that.
And yeah, so you, by nature of the beast, must alienate your inner circle. And I don't like that.
Yeah, and then you touched on something, Captain, that is probably the most awful part about network marketing, because even if it's a great product, and even if they somehow have a decent price, which I've never seen when it comes to network marketing,
way more expensive.
Always insanely expensive. But even if you got a really great price and product, then there's still the cult aspect of it. Yeah. And so now you're literally being told that you need to bring your friends and family into your cult, this culty, very, very culty group of people, and that if you don't, they act like a cult, and they'll say things like, well, then they aren't your friends. Oh, they don't see this opportunity. They don't want to join you in this and help you.
That's what I call beer pressure.
Yeah, they don't want to help you with build your business.
If you don't drink this beer, I won't be your friend, and you can't hang out with us, and we won't think you're cool anymore.
That really does exist, and I'm not going to say they all do it because I've only been involved in one of these companies in the past. Yeah. But it's not uncommon, from what I understand, and the people we've talked to over the years about this, and because this isn't the first time network marketing has come up on this program. Sure. A lot of people have had it in
cults.
A lot of people have had it in their past. Bonnie was just in the room telling us that she was involved in one when she was a little bit younger as well.
Yep.
They prey on people's desire for that independence, and there is that desire, right? Like, a lot of people don't want to be in a job for their whole lives. That's not something that's very attractive. The idea of setting your own hours, who doesn't want to do that? Most people would love to have, or I think a lot of people would love to have, that kind of freedom in their lives. So it is a very attractive pitch, especially to somebody that's never heard it before. And obviously, younger people are more likely to have never heard this before. When I was pitched with this, I was 19 years old. And the product, in my particular case, was interesting. I joined up. I spent a few $1,000s and ended up selling that crap off at a garage sale 6 years later or whatever for pennies on the dollar.
I think that was the other thing about the one that I was invited to interview at, was that there was an initial investment required.
Always.
And I was broke. I'm like, well, I don't have any money, so
I'm out.
Yeah.
In this case, I was able to afford the initial investment. Of course, they have their sayings like, "Oh, you got to be a product of the product." You can't sell something if you don't believe in it. You can't sell something if you don't have any experience with it.
I've done sales a bunch of times, and the problem is that when I start, I believe in the product.
Mm-hmm.
Because, they give you a song and dance about how awesome their product is, and you're like, oh, that is pretty cool. And so you start to sell it based on the awesomeness that you've been told. The problem is when it comes down to you telling other people how awesome the product is, and then the product actually isn't that awesome.
That makes you look bad.
Yeah. So the problem is that I have higher standards than anybody I've ever sold for. And it really creeps me out because every employer I have ever worked for, full-time anyway, has tried to turn me into a salesperson, even though I got into technology and doing like tech support and all sorts of we'll call it telephony programming, that kind of stuff. I got into these things because I didn't want to sell. But every company that I've ever worked for has approached me on some level and been like, you'd be pretty good as an account executive. And I'm like, what is that? And they're like, oh, you'd be on our sales team. Nope.
Yeah.
Like, I'm shutting it down. No, I'm not going to sell for you because I have this problem where I have, ethics and morals, and I just can't shove your product down other people's throats for the benefit of the company, especially if I know that you're not going to be able to keep my promises that I make to other people.
Yep. Salespeople without ethics and morals do a lot better.
They do. They do. It's true.
So I asked a few more questions of Richard just to kind of, because again, I know the business, and so I asked him about what level of distributor he is. He said he's just the initial, right? So he's just the first level or whatever they call that, and he's been involved for a year and a half. He's got 6 people in his downline, he says, but what it wasn't clear was whether it was their distributors or they're just buying. And so I suspect that just means they're customers, but it wasn't real clear.
Yeah.
He says that in order to keep your account open, basically to keep your status, you have to buy things. This is common in the network marketing business. They're not going to pay you if you're not paying them regularly.
Right. You've got a minimum order
Correct.
that you must meet every month or something like that.
That's right. Whether it's for you or if you're selling it to somebody, they don't care. As long as you're doing that minimum, then you're a qualified distributor or whatever, and they, in theory, you could get a check from them.
Yeah.
Were you to sell enough stuff. And so, again, on its face, there's nothing illegal. There's nothing inherently immoral or wrong about network marketing. It just drips of this insincerity in a lot of cases. Some of these distributors, like you were saying, when you went to this meetup or this meeting, it was so fake seeming. The people were...
I felt like the people representing this company were all on some kind of drug that I was not on. Like... have you ever gone to a party sober where you're like obviously the only sober guy there?
Probably.
It felt like that, except everybody was, I'll say, sober enough to converse. It's not like they were drinking or anything, but these representatives they had this glossy look in their eyes, and I was just creeped
high on
out.
the opportunity.
I don't know if they saw. Well, they're like, oh, we got to recruit new people. Dollar signs are in their eyes, right? He's going to be part of my downline or whatever, right? It just creeped me out, man.
Well, that's interesting because they had a different approach than some of these companies where, again, there's, in a lot of cases, a rule against advertising. But in your case, you followed an advertisement to get you through the door.
Yeah.
So everyone in there is interested in, like you said, recruiting you. So they're all going to be trying to work you. Whereas normally it'd be somebody bringing you,
right,
and then you'd be that person's recruit. There's more coming up here. This is Free Talk Live. You can share your thoughts.
Carl Watner, longtime proponent of a voluntary society, died last December. You may have seen his articles published on his website, voluntarist.com, in his newsletter, The Voluntarist, the Mises Institute, or elsewhere over the last 40 years. His newest book, I Must Speak Out, Volume 2, The Best of the Voluntarist, is now available via Liberty Under Attack Publications. This 430-page second volume spans the years of 2000 through 2020 and includes articles by Carl Watner, Hans Hermann Hoppe, Carl Hess, Benjamin Tucker, George H. Smith, Lysander Spooner, Pete Eyre, Joyce Brand, and many others. I Must Speak Out is for the newly initiated, the veteran voluntarist, or anywhere in between. Buy the book now at libertyunderattack.com/voluntarist. For more great content on building a voluntary society and for Carl's extensive archives, check out voluntarist.com.
From Feature Story News in San Francisco, I'm Ira Spitzer with a look back at the week's top stories. We begin in Washington, D.C. On Thursday, U.S. President Joe Biden announced a fresh package of weapons and aid for Ukraine in an attempt to reinforce the country's forces battling against the Russian invasion. In an address from the White House, President Biden warned that Ukraine is facing a critical window as Russia launches an offensive in the east. Here's U.S. correspondent Benji Heyer.
$800 million in military assistance, including heavy artillery weapons, 144,000 rounds of ammunition, and more tactical drones. It's part of another huge package unveiled by the administration on Thursday, and if approved, it would mean the US has committed approximately $3.4 billion in assistance to Ukraine since the conflict began. As well as bolstering Ukraine's resistance on the battlefield, Joe Biden wanted to express support for the people of Ukraine.
We intend to provide an additional $500 million in direct economic assistance to the Ukrainian government. We've already welcomed tens of thousands of Ukrainians to the United States, and today I'm announcing a new program to enable Ukrainians seeking refuge to come directly from Europe to the United States.
Also on Thursday, Russia's President Vladimir Putin said it's unnecessary for Russian lives to be wasted trying to storm a metal factory in the besieged southern Ukrainian city of Mariupol and ordered any assault to be canceled. Stuart Smith reports from Moscow, where restrictions on reporting the war are in place.
The defense minister told the president 2,000 fighters still remained, but that the rest of Mariupol had been captured and the situation calm, meaning citizens could return. The president said that can be considered a success. To those who still remained at the factory, he said Russia guarantees their lives and decent treatment in accordance with international law if they come out. Ukraine's top negotiators have requested an urgent meeting with the Russian delegation at the site in Mariupol to try to save the lives of everyone there.
And on Wednesday, the All England Lawn Tennis Club announced that Russian and Belarusian tennis players will not be allowed to compete at Wimbledon this year. Chris Jones has more from London.
This is a crushing blow for the likes of Russia's Daniil Medvedev, who is the men's singles number 2. He, along with many others, won't be allowed to compete at Wimbledon this year, one of the world's biggest tennis tournaments. The All England Lawn Tennis Club says it made the decision because of the unjustified and unprecedented military aggression in Ukraine. The UK's Lawn Tennis Association has also banned Russian and Belarusian players from playing at any of the UK grass court tournaments. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov criticised the ban. He says the tournaments will suffer as a result.
That's the latest feature story news. Ira Spitzer in San Francisco.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live. You can join us here and bring up whatever you want to discuss. The number is 603-283-6160. We still might talk about the food processing plants getting shut down through...
If not, I'll be around tomorrow to talk about it.
Fires and I don't know if there are any bombings or whatever. We'll find out more about
airplane crashed into one.
What happened with those? But we ended up getting sidetracked, as we do on Free Talk Live, because it is open phones and you can call in about anything you want. And Richard in New Mexico called in about network marketing. And both you and I, Captain, have a little bit of experience in this area. You had the wisdom to not join the network marketing company that you were pitched with.
I mean, there are times when being a pragmatic, practical person, kind of, sabotages me, right? Mm-hmm. Because that's not always the best way to. Sometimes you got to take a risk, and sometimes that kind of thing. But I was being completely pragmatic and practical at the time. I was just looking for a gig, wage slave type thing.
Yeah.
Right. I needed some hourly pay. I needed a paycheck in 2 weeks or earlier if I could get it. And I knew that walking into this place, I wasn't going to get it.
In my case, I spent, a couple years doing it before I threw in the towel.
Do you remember what your product was?
I do. And it was magnetic products for the most part, although they had their potions.
Magnets, how do they work?
Lotions and that kind of thing. But in that particular case, I did benefit in that I learned about sales.
Yes.
So, I look on the positive side of the experience. I certainly learned about the network marketing industry, and I don't really want to have anything to do with it.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I did learn some sales from that because they have these CDs and tapes or whatever. This was back in the 90s. So they would sell you all these different products that you could learn on how to sell better. Mm-hmm. So I definitely took some lessons home from
Zig Ziglar?
that. I'm familiar with
Tony Robbins.
Zig Ziglar. Didn't watch any Tony Robbins, but that kind of stuff. And I think that there was some benefit to me from learning that. And as somebody who was, I think, introverted as a younger person, that helped me kind of break out of that.
To be fair, I did come up in telephone sales, telemarketing.
Oh yeah,
if you were, and then the
cold calls.
I did that. The best I ever did was just appointment setting for like home improvements, right? Siding, windows, roofing, that type of stuff. That was those. I wasn't really selling anything other
just
than
the appointment,
a free estimate,
right?
Kind of a thing. But then I was able to parlay that into, because I was good on the phone, I could read and write scripts. I was able to parlay that into some work for a tech company during the .com era. Right? Yep. Pre-2000. And so I went to work for a tech company, and because I understood the product and I caught on to new concepts quickly, and when I was working in this office with no computers, and then one day they hired an IT guy and he brought computers to everybody's desk, and then we had computers, and that's how I learned computers. I had a crash course because it was my job to now work on this computer. And so, yeah.
Let's go to your phone calls. Now, we got Jack in Washington State. You're on Free Talk Live. Jack.
Yeah, Captain Kickbutt, I have a question for you.
Yep.
You were in Seattle.
I was.
Do you remember Penguin Windows?
Do I remember
Penguin
Windows? I do remember Penguin Windows, yes.
Yeah, I worked for them from 2002 to 2012 before they went out of business.
Was that where was there? Was it Mukilteo or something like that?
Oh yeah, good
What
job.
did they do? Just put windows in houses or businesses?
Triple pane Krypton. Yeah. They had a really good pitch.
Vinyl frame windows. Yeah.
Triple pane. They had a reinforcement of. They called it Kevlar. It was fiberglass, which is part of the sale or whatever. Mm-hmm. But they did really well
until they failed.
They did. But I met people along the way that did network marketing, and that's what I want to comment on is how Captain Kickbutt said how they have this kind of weird glossy-eyed look on their face, and it's that human nature to try to be a part of a religion, a government, an organization. They just have this kind of like you just walked into a Mormon church thing, the network marketing.
Yeah.
And I think that when you go like 4 or 5, 6, 7 times in a row, the human brain might get like manipulated into believing it. But it's bizarre to somebody who just goes to 1 or 2 of them. Anyway.
Yeah, it certainly creeped me out. Your experience may vary.
So they pitched you and you didn't join?
Well, they're my friends from my profitable job, which is working for Penguin. It was good. It was
so they were
job.
doing this on the side?
Yeah, it was something like, but they're also super Christian. There's type of couple that would bring you to the Sunday masses or the Sunday events, but also you found out later on they were all sleeping with everybody. I mean, it was just ironic. True story. Too.
So, Jack, I know from your previous calls, you're a gay man. Have you seen this Madison, whatever the hell his name is, this representative?
Lingerie.
What now?
The guy dressed in lingerie.
Yeah, the lingerie guy. Have you seen the photos?
I was in the closet when I went to school, and I did things like that, but there was more fun. I don't know enough to comment, honestly, but it looks to me like he was just being silly, and his words have now caught up with him. If that makes sense.
And you know what? If he wants to be silly, that's fine. I don't care. But yeah, the fact that he is acting like he's all high and mighty and conservative Christian, and then he's dressing in lingerie.
The part of that guy that I care about is the fact that he's a politician.
Yeah.
Right. And the rest of his life, I could give no craps about.
He wants to tell you how to live.
But yeah, as soon as he wants to start telling other people how to live, that's when I got a problem.
Jack, anything else?
If he's running the rally at the Amway convention at the local name a motel, I can't think of one, Daily Inn, and yet he's also out there, doing Clariel and Maybelline on the side. It's a little crazy.
Thanks, Jack, for the call tonight. Appreciate it. Let's talk to the Major Payne. You're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead, calling from Michigan.
Good evening.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
years ago, I about got roped into selling these rainbow vacuums.
I bet you that really sucked.
They were quite the magic gizmo. They did like 24, 28 different things. I forget if they had the Flowbee on them. That was a thing then. But this thing actually had a paint gun that worked off the exhaust side of it.
What?
It was like a $1,200 vacuum back in 78, 1980. And that was a lot of money back then.
Right. It was supposed to be like a sprayer, right? Like a spray gun. You could just load regular paint into it and mix it up, and it would act as if it were a spray gun. I've seen those.
A couple of years later, me and my brother-in-law and his nephew started a garage door business with what I call the card dump. You know, we'd print up 3x5 business cards, and you get a rubber stamp with your name on it, and put your name in big red letters right in the middle of the card, and you go around and hound for service calls on places with multiple garage doors.
Mm-hmm.
We started this whole thing off with 5, 6 milk crates full of parts and a few odd springs and clamps and such. You know, you find somebody with a cockeyed door and you go out and fix it, and there's $1.25 in your pocket right there.
Mm-hmm.
So, it ended up being worth, $500,000 a couple years later. And my brother-in-law got in a pissing match with my sister, and they got divorced. And then Mikey, he found a girl and decided he's going to move back to Texas. So I got the old redheaded stepchild treatment once again. But,
So you didn't make any money off of it?
Oh, yeah, I made a couple years living. Plus,
Okay.
I, learned how to do stuff I didn't know how to do.
There you go. But looking on the bright side, that's good.
But I want to point something out to our listeners here about what you're saying. Is that you went out with some parts and you made your own advertisement.
Mm-hmm.
And you went and you drummed up your own business. You created a business out of finding people who had a problem and then solving that problem. Now, that's how easy it should be for somebody to start a business in today's world, but it is not the case.
Oh, it's because the government gang wants you to get licenses and permission slips.
And blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, all this other nonsense. Thanks, Major, for the story tonight. Definitely appreciate hearing from you.
Vacuum cleaners really suck.
The number 603-283-6160, and we've heard stories from some of those distributors over the years about how the presentations would go, and they'd go over people's houses and throw dirt down on their carpet and then use the vacuum to show off and clean it up. They're god-awful expensive, but maybe they're really great. I don't know. More coming up. It's Free Talk Live. Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 27th through July 3rd for the 6th annual Fork Fest at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. Fork Fest is a fork of the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which sold out for the first time in 2021. Fork Fest takes place the week after Pork Fest, but Fork Fest is decentralized, which means that there's no ticket cost and no one is in charge. All you have to do to join the fun is reserve your camping site, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 27th through July 3rd. There's no better place to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire. You can find out more at the unofficial website, forkfest.party. You can also connect with other attendees on the Forkfest Telegram and Matrix chat rooms, as well as the Forkfest forum. You can find links to those at forkfest.party. We hope to see you there. Forkfest.party.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Phone records, financial and location data, Prism, Tempora, X-Keyscore, Boundless Informant.
Hey, y'all, Scott Horton here for offnow.org. Now, here's the deal. Due to the Snowden revelations, we have a great opportunity for a short period of time to get some real rollback of the national surveillance state. Now, they're already trying to tire us by introducing fake reforms in the Congress. And the courts, they betrayed their sworn oaths to the Constitution and Bill of Rights again and again, and can in no way be trusted to stop the abuses for us. We've got to do it ourselves. How? We nullify it at the state level. It's still not easy, but the Off Now project of the 10th Amendment Center has gotten off to a great start. I mean it. There's real reason to be optimistic here. They've gotten their model legislation introduced all over the place, in state after state. I've lost count, more than a dozen. You're always wondering, yeah, but what can we do? Here's something important, something that can work if we do the work. Get started cutting off the NSA support in your state. Go to offnow.org.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
You can help spread the ideas of liberty with our Patreon for just $5 per month at amps.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live. Live show. Phones are open. You can join us here at 603-283-6160. But if you want to get on tonight, you better get on the lines right now. Here in the studio, it's Ian.
And the captain.
And you can join us online anytime you want over at freetalklive.com. We have archives that go back for many years. You can download them at your leisure at freetalklive.com, and many other features there, so feel free to explore the sites. Once again, freetalklive.com. As we continue here, we're going to go back into your phone calls. But coming up, Captain, you've got a story about some suspicious fires, some suspicious destruction at some interesting locations.
Strange things are afoot.
Yeah, and things that make you go, we'll get into that coming up here in a little bit. But first, we've got David on the line in New Mexico. David, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead.
Yeah, Segway Railroaded. You had brought that up earlier, coincidentally.
You know something about that.
Yeah, that was that exact term spontaneously came out of the mouth of a 30-year veteran paralegal who I shared facts of my case with. This was back at about year 2. If you remember in a previous call, I had told you I interviewed with an attorney to take my case, and I was quoted at year 2, $60,000 retainer.
Right.
And that this paralegal was the paralegal for this attorney. His name was Frank. I don't remember his last name here in Albuquerque. But anyway, railroaded. The exact quote was, "David, you're being railroaded." So yeah. And so tying into that, I wanted to add one more little thing for people to have in their memory in case they ever get into a courtroom where they may be asked to be evaluated by any sort of expert witness, typically in the medical field, but it may be in some other sort of field. And remember, this is in the context of the attorney, Jane Yohalam, in the state of New Mexico, that won my unanimous decision at the New Mexico Court of Appeals. She was my attorney, and she won that case unanimously. Ironically, she is now on the Court of Appeals. Further ironically, she is the peer of another judge on the Court of Appeals, M. Monica Zamora. And coincidentally, M. Monica Zamora was the sitting judge who Jane Yohalam defeated in my case with that unanimous win.
So you've been railroaded and drugged through the court system so much, so often, that people who have been on your case originally have been promoted and or moved up the government ladder, so to speak, into other positions now.
Will this Jane even return your phone calls at this point?
Well, she would talk to me. I'm certain of it, with the exception that since she's a sitting judge, she may decline to talk to me in case anything that I would put into the courts in the future would come before her, which is probably what she would do in declining a phone call would be based on that.
What is the difference between a sitting judge and, well, one who doesn't, I guess? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, so yeah, it's rather incestuous, nepotistic. If you notice there, that my attorney that won my appeal reversed the judge in my case, who actually now they both sit on the Court of Appeals, where previously one was my attorney and the other one was the judge in my case that was defeated by my attorney, Jane Yohalem. And my final point on this today to advance the information is that Jane, I was never debriefed after I won that appeal, or Jane won that appeal, and it might be interesting for Jane. Jane might like to know what happened to her win. And when it was remanded back to the lower court to Judge John J. Romero Jr., Jane, what happened is I succeeded by motion in getting a reunification therapist to reunite me with my children. I detected some BS going on with that therapist and motioned to excuse her and replace her with another practitioner, which Judge John J. Romero just simply ignored my motion from that point forward, did not comment on it, and so I've never seen my children again, Jane, despite your unanimous win at your own Court of Appeals, Jane Yohalem. So there.
Yeah, I suspect she's not going to be of any assistance to you at this point. She's got her allegiance with the system, even though you were her client. And
guess what? I will then ask her husband, Daniel Yohalem, who's a civil rights attorney, and see if Daniel would like to make this further nepotistic and incestuous. See if Jane's husband Daniel would like to take my case involving my previous experience with her.
I'm sure you'll let us know how it goes.
I do have a portmanteau that I just made up for David. Nepocestuous.
That's a good one. Thanks, David, for the call tonight. The number here is 603-283-6160. So, Captain, what has been happening with food processing facilities around the country?
I've been seeing this go around on the interwebs, and I stumbled upon the article in the Free Thought Project that says multiple large food processing and distribution plants in the U.S. have recently exploded or burned down. This was published on April 21st. As food uncertainty lingers on the horizon thanks to U.S. sanctions and government decimation of the economy during the past couple of years, there is the beginning of the year, there's another factor contributing to the problem. Since the beginning of the year, there have been several very large food processing facilities that have exploded or burned to the ground across the U.S. This week, a vegetable and nut processing facility in Defer, Oregon, became engulfed in flames for unknown reasons. This article goes on, but I was just scanning through, the rest of the internet to see what they say, and I got a hold of a list of 23 different places. Azure Standard Headquarters, Taylor Farms, Gem State Processing, East Conway Beef and Pork, Rio Fresh, Walmart, Hot Pockets. These are just some of the names here. Tyson, Kellogg, JBS. There's 23 locations since, looks like one of them is as far back as August 9th of 2019, but this seems to start in 2021, January, all the way through April 18th of 2022. 23 locations. All 23 locations started on fire in some way, shape, or form, with the exception of 3. One in Idaho was an airplane crash, so apparently an airplane crashed into their facility.
Okay.
One was in Oregon, a boiler explosion, so their boiler exploded somehow. And then one in Louisiana just says explosion. So
now
all
we don't
the
know
rest
if
of
these things were completely totaled or if there was maybe just some damage and they were able to recover relatively quickly. It doesn't say the extent of the damage.
On the
right?
list that I was able to pull up of these 23 places, it does not say what the extent of the damage was. It just lists these 23 as suspicious. So the Independent, this article at Free Thought Project continues. It says 1 week before that fire in Oregon, a massive fire brought down a meat processing plant in Conway, New Hampshire.
Brought it down.
Brought it down. After burning for 16 hours, multiple fire crews finally put out the fire at the East Conway Beef and Pork, but the facility is completely destroyed. The same week in Salinas, California, a massive fire at the Taylor Farms processing facility led to the evacuation of residents as it burned for over 17 hours. Taylor Farms is a major agriculture company that processes and delivers many of the salad kits seen in grocery stores. The cause of the fire currently under investigation.
Well, really the question is this happening more often than normally? I mean, I don't know how many thousands of food processing facilities there are in the United States. I suspect there's, a lot of them. Maybe it's in the several hundreds or maybe it's in the several thousands. I don't know. I've never looked into it.
Is it 23 in a year and a half?
Is that typical?
Is that typical? Does that seem odd to you?
Yeah, that would be really the ultimate question, is to compare this to other time periods and see if this is an unusual number or is it right along with what you'd expect to see happening.
I don't know if it mentions in this article or if it was somewhere else that I read in prep for this, but I read that it is not unusual for food processing facilities to have fires, that it's relatively common. However, the caveat to that statement is that when most of them were investigated, the number one cause of these fires, arson.
Really?
Yes. So now I have no facts. I have nothing to say other than I find it weird that this is the first time in my 50 years on planet Earth I've heard of multiple food facilities either exploding or burning. Just another reason to be prepared. Have yourself a little something set aside, figure out how to live without the system.
Not a bad suggestion, Captain, regardless of what the cause is of this particular situation. Out of time for tonight. Join the Captain for more on the live Sunday edition happening tomorrow, 7 to 10 Eastern. You can join us online in the meantime at freetalklive.com. Have a great weekend. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper